Hello guys! Hi everybody, how are you doing? It's great to see you. I see we already have a couple hundred people watching, 400 people watching, but only 135 likes. Absolutely scandalous. Shame on you guys. In the middle of a war, really? So guys, please hit the like button. Let's have an equal amount of viewers and likes. And first things first, where are you guys watching from? This is the question that is always on my mind, right? Which I ponder. So, Alaska says greetings from Russia. Someone else from Russia, Yugoslavia, London, Italy, and there we go. I can't read it anymore. Hawaii, Australia, Brazil, Berlin, Bulgaria, Latvia, Prague, Sweden, California, Maryland, Panama, Portugal, Switzerland, Australia, Italy. Wow, I can't keep up. That's why I fucking love you guys, because I really feel like the audience reflects the work, you know? I do international affairs and I have an international audience. I think that's absolutely beautiful. So thank you very much. Thank you also Crazy Puppet for the donation. Said reporting for duty. I do my part. Sorry, not a journalist. Great job. Well, you're very kind and I appreciate you being here. So again, you guys are still going. You're still telling me where you're tuning in from. I love that. That's very good. We got 500 people watching now. 550 people watching, but only 300 likes. Come on, guys. Don't skimp out. We have 550 people watching. We should have 550 likes. Now, listen, I'm going to be very clear with you what this live stream is, because some of you were saying, oh my God, brief update. What does that mean? That's making me nervous. Don't be nervous. It's fine. It's what it says on the tin. This is a brief update. I'm going to try my best not to do an 8-hour stream. I'll try. Not promising. I'll try. But seriously, this is really supposed to be a very, very concise and compact update about what is happening in Ukraine. Now, for those of you who've tuned in the last days, thank you very much. You're gonna see a little bit of repetition, obviously, because I'm summing up all the things that have happened up until now. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about some things that you don't know afterwards, so don't worry. In any case, let me get my stuff started, okay? Hold on. Someone in the chat said, greetings from hell. No. No. We have someone watching from Pakistan. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so guys, seriously though, let me get started. Let me do my thing. I just want to bring you up to speed on what's happening, all right? Are we ready? Yes, we are ready. I just need to scroll up here. Hold on. Wonderful, oh boy. Thank you for the super chat, Seb or CEB Apple. America is rebranding Hitler. Yeah, I was going to talk about that in a bit. That's exactly what I was talking about. It's absolutely insane. It's insane. It's nuts. All right, guys. So let's begin with an update on the situation in Ukraine. Let me bring you up to speed on the humanitarian situation and the military situation. So first things first, as of March 12th, 2022, the biggest Ukrainian cities, so the capital Kiev and Kharkiv, they remain under Ukrainian control. Now, Russian forces are just about 25 kilometers from the capital city, from Kiev. If you take a look at this map, courtesy of Al Jazeera, then you'll be able to see the Russian forces highlighted in red. Here's the capital, Kiev, and then Kharkiv over here. Now, in regards to the humanitarian situation, it's quite drastic, it's quite grave. So according to the United Nations, more than 2.5 million people have fled across borders. Poland has welcomed over 1.5 million Ukrainian refugees. Hungary, over 200,000. Slovakia, 180,000. And over 100,000 Ukrainians have found refuge in Russia. So I can just bring up the figures for you over here from the BBC. But again, these are from March 9th, so they're a little outdated. The ones that I just gave you are more updated. In any case, most people have been able to flee Ukraine. They've had no problems because they've been letting people come in. Other people trying to flee Ukraine, especially people who aren't white, Africans, Indians, Asians, they've been discriminated against, and this is really terrible. You can see videos on social media of African students being blocked from getting on the trains that are leaving, that are fleeing the war zone. It's quite harrowing, honestly, because you would expect, in the middle of a refugee crisis, that everyone is allowed to flee. All the civilians are afforded this right. That's not what's been happening. You can see the trains leaving. The Africans were blocked from getting on. There's many, many, many videos like this. And so while people are fleeing Ukraine, there are people coming into Ukraine. And I don't just mean the Russians. There are foreign fighters that are pouring into Ukraine. And I want to show you a little bit about, I want to show you who I'm talking about. So just to give you an idea, you have 450 Arab and foreign extremists from Idlib that have just arrived in Ukraine. This is El Mayadeen reporting. So almost 450 extremists from various nationalities arrived from Idlib to fight against Russian troops after leaving Syria and passing through Turkey. And you can see the guy's patch on his chest. He's got the Free Syrian Army flag and the Turkish flag. So these are, of course, not just Syrians. They are mixed. They're foreign fighters, just like the situation in Syria itself. You have people coming from all over to join Al-Qaeda, to join its affiliates. And here they can say that the majority are from Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is basically another way of saying Jabhat al-Nusra, which is another way of saying Al-Qaeda. It's Al-Qaeda. They just rebranded. They changed the name several times. It's still like Al-Qaeda, right? So just HTS for short. And so you've also had people from the Turkestan Islamic Party, which is the Uyghur terrorist group, which Trump removed from the United States list of terrorist organizations. I wonder why. And so at the same time, you've had reports in the media that Russia is recruiting mercenaries, but this is not true. These guys that are coming from Idlib, they hate Russia because they've been fighting Russia in Syria, right? They're fighting against the Syrian government and the Russians. And so now they've decided to go to Ukraine to fight the Russians there again. Now, the reports that Russia is recruiting mercenaries, these are simply not true because you've seen in the media, for example, this is from The Guardian, they say that Moscow is seeking volunteers to act as guards on 6-month contracts for between $200 and $300 a month. That's not true. What is true is that Russia has started a volunteer force, so not mercenaries who are paid, volunteers. And these are people from Syria and the surrounding areas. And I want to show you Putin announcing this during a meeting with his defense minister and National Security Council.
Что касается сбора со всего мира наемников и направления их на Украину, мы видим, они не скрывают западные спонсоры украинского режима, не скрывают этого, они это делают в открытую, пренебрегая всякими нормами международного права. Поэтому если вы видите, что есть люди, которые хотят на добровольной основе, тем более не за деньги, приехать и оказать помощь людям, проживающим на Донбассе, ну что же, надо пойти им навстречу и помочь им перебраться в зону боевых действий.
Right, so you have to consider that Russia really changed you have to consider that Russia really turned the tide of the war in Syria. So people who are grateful to Russia for stopping Al-Qaeda, they're more than welcome to go fight in Ukraine. That's what Putin is saying, basically. And make no mistake, there's no shortage of volunteers because people recognize that Iran, Hezbollah, Russia actually really helped to stop Al-Qaeda and all these foreign-backed terrorists from Qatar, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Israel, the US, UK. So that's what he's referring to. And I want to show you the reaction from the Ukrainian President Zelensky to this announcement that there's a Russian volunteer force.
Війна з дуже впертим ворогом, який не звертає увагу. Російські війська относятся к українцям. Вот так относятся к Донбассу. как они говорили, к русскоязычным людям, как они всем кричали о защите, которых в Москве столько всего наговорили. Ракеты, авиабомбы, артиллерия, а теперь вот еще сирийские наемники, которых вообще не различают, кто и на каком языке здесь разговаривает, в какую церковь ходит, какую...
Again, that's so hilarious. Zelensky is the one who has Syrian mercenaries fighting on his side, who has Al-Qaeda fighting on his side. And those are the ones who don't care, who you are. They're extremists. And they'll kill Christians, they'll kill other Muslims. And the irony is that if you look at the Associated Press, what they're reporting about this Russian force, they're even telling you that the people going to fight on Russia's behalf as volunteers include Christian militias, right? So, again, just complete contradiction from Zelensky. He makes absolutely no sense. And he's, again, repeating this racist, ignorant trope that, oh, there are no Christians in Syria. They're just, they don't care about Christians, when Christianity literally comes from Syria. In any case, I want to show you a comment over here from Elijah Manier. He said the West calls these so-called freedom fighters that Russia is sending back, Russia's basically sending back the ball, because Putin approved 16,000 trained volunteers from the Middle East. And that's a response to the 20,000 mercenaries who are getting $2,000 a day as a salary fighting for Ukraine. So this is, again, it's beginning to look a lot like Syria. It's beginning to look a lot like Afghanistan, where you have foreign fighters flooding in. And who's backing them? It's the West. Why? Just so they can antagonize Russia. They did it in Afghanistan to fight the Soviets. They did it in Syria to fight the Syrian government and the Russians. And now they're doing it again with neo-Nazis and Al-Qaeda inside of Ukraine. And so what's amazing to me is that no one wants to address the fact that these forces include neo-Nazis. The Azov battalion is literally part of the Ukrainian National Guard. And just to give you an idea how they've normalized the presence of these Nazis in Ukraine, NATO, on their official Twitter account, they posted this tweet celebrating Women's Day and showing female forces. And this woman over here, turns out, if you zoom in and you look at what she has on her chest, she's got a Nazi symbol. So this is called a Schwarze Sonne, meaning a black sun. And there you go. It's a Nazi symbol. And it's obviously not the only one we've seen in Ukraine. We see many more of that. And another example, the Foreign Ministry of Ukraine. They're also celebrating women in the Ukrainian army. And if you look at this photograph, you zoom in, there we go again, the black sun. This same Sonnenrad and Schwarze Sonne, which is, again, a Nazi symbol. And you've seen other Nazi symbols like the Wolfsangel, which the Azov battalion wear. It's, they're not even trying to hide it. It's unbelievable. And so neo-Nazis are okay. Al-Qaeda is okay. NATO's okay. They're all fighting together. And this is totally fine to post on social media. And at the same time, while all of this has been happening, they've gone ahead and banned RT. So in the beginning, they were saying that, we have to ban RT in Europe because the European Union, they demanded we do this legally. So on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, everywhere, you can't access RT if you're in the EU. Well, that's not what's happened anymore, because YouTube now have said, you know what? Let's just go and ban RT worldwide, not just in Europe, worldwide. Just of their own initiative. No one forced them to do that. They wanted to do that. There you go. So YouTube has blocked Russian state-funded media, including RT and Sputnik, all over the globe. Let me show you what that looks like. So here's someone trying to access it in Canada. It's banned. Here's someone trying to access it in the US. It's banned. Here's someone trying to access it in Mexico. It's banned. Here's someone trying to access it in Nicaragua. It's banned. So this is their idea of free speech, right? And of course, liberals, Democrats, they're over the moon. They're over the moon. They're ecstatic that this has happened because that's what they love, censorship. They want to crush their opponents and silence dissent. And take a look at the double standard, because at the same time they're saying RT is poison, it's propaganda, it's the Kremlin's mouthpiece, it has to be banned. At the same time, look what Facebook is doing on social media. So Facebook is now allowing hate speech against Russians. So you can go on Facebook or Instagram and say you want to kill Russians, you want to kill the Russian president. That's allowed. So they've made an exception on hate speech now just so you can call for the death of Russians. And it gets better. Are you ready? So it's not just about hate speech against Russians. They're even saying that Meta, which is Facebook, would allow praise of the right-wing Azov battalion, which is normally prohibited. Who's the Azov battalion? A neo-Nazi battalion. Here they say it's far right-wing. It's a neo-Nazi battalion. That's who they are. That's what they believe in. That's the symbols they wear. Okay? So they're basically telling you RT is poison. RT has to be banned. But if you want to kill Russians and you want to type that on Facebook, go ahead. And if you want to praise neo-Nazis, go ahead. Wow. And then they have the nerve to talk about state media. And speaking of state media, look at what the White House decided to do. So the White House has gone and recruited TikTok stars to give them a so-called briefing on Ukraine. So they brought in these people from TikTok who have lots of followers, and they let them ask some questions. You know, they're basically using them as tools. They're outsourcing their propaganda because these TikTok influencers are naive. They don't know anything about politics. They have huge followings, and they think that they're just, bringing them in for a nice little picnic to ask some questions and answer any inquiries they have. But this is the result of these TikTok stars going to the White House and being briefed. Take a look.
Hey folks, so I just had the pleasure of joining a White House briefing with a senior official from the National Security Council. And I want to talk to you about what America is doing to help Ukraine, because it's important to spread accurate information here. And let me just quickly say, as someone who has family in Ukraine, I am very grateful for what America has done thus far. So first off, the United States has provided a significant amount of militaristic as well as humanitarian aid to Ukraine. Hundreds of billions of dollars have already gone to Ukraine, and there will be more. Next, we are seeing the United States sanctions on Russia work. Russia's economy is in free fall, the ruble is at its lowest point in a very long time, and the country is on the brink of default. And finally, the United States is publishing a significant...
I mean, it's quite shameful, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, the Russian economy is in the toilet and the civilians are going to suffer. Isn't that great? And, this is the kind of propaganda that the White House is disseminating using TikTok, using social media to spread NATO and Western talking points. That's okay, but RT has to be banned. RT has to be banned because we can't tolerate Kremlin talking points. But the White House using social media, that's okay. Praising neo-Nazis, that's okay. Calling for Russians to be killed, that's okay. And so the censorship goes even further. Oliver Stone produced a movie called Ukraine on Fire, where he talks about the coup, the US engineered coup in Ukraine back in 2014, the color revolution, the massacre in Maidan, the influence of NATO, the rise of far-right nationalism in Ukraine and Ukraine's history. And he made this movie with Igor Lopatonok. So he's the director, Igor Lopatonok. And their movie was banned. YouTube deleted their movie. Even though it's been online for years, they picked this moment for some reason, right when it's going viral and people are interested in Ukraine and watching this movie, they deleted it because it goes against the official narrative. And I'm telling you this exclusively because I just spoke to Igor, and I can tell you exclusively, Vimeo just deleted the movie as well. So he was telling people, go on Vimeo, download it, and re-upload it. It's gone. Vimeo just deleted it. So this movie that he made with Oliver Stone, YouTube just deleted it. Vimeo just deleted it. They're trying so desperately to crush dissent on all fronts. Documentary films, gone. You know, people who are just questioning the official narrative, gone. RT, gone. This is the freedom of speech in the West. This is democracy. This is what they're talking about. And honestly, all of this, I just wanted to show you one more thing. All of this stuff about, it's okay for hate speech against Russians, it comes from this. So Senator Lindsey Graham, he went on Fox News and he was openly calling for Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, to be assassinated.
How does this end? Somebody in Russia has to step up to the plate Is there Brutus in Russia? Is there a more successful Colonel Stauffenberg in the Russian military? The only way this ends, my friend, is for somebody in Russia to take this guy out. You would be doing your country a great service and the world a great service. How does this end?
Wow. Wow. And so to make sure that Lindsey Graham can keep saying these things, they make an exception for violence. Isn't that amazing? Incredible. Incredible. And when it comes to biolabs, so let's look at biolabs, because this is another very big issue which they don't want you to know about. So let me cross over here to this. Man, they're shameless. They're absolutely shameless. Wow. So, you know, right up until yesterday, right up until a few days ago, U.S. biolabs in Ukraine was dismissed as a conspiracy theory. Here's an article from Foreign Policy magazine. They say false claims of U.S. biowarfare labs in Ukraine grip QAnon, right? So it's just a bunch of crackpots who are saying this thing. And then it turns out there's a Senate hearing, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and I want you to pay attention to this question that Marco Rubio asks.
Well, I only have a minute left. Let me ask you, does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian troops, Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
I'm sure you're aware that the Russian propaganda groups are already putting out there all kinds of information about how they've uncovered a plot by the Ukrainians to release biological weapons in the country and with NATO's coordination. If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
Wow. Wow. So basically, Victoria Nuland, who's the architect of the coup in Ukraine, and she used to work for Dick Cheney during the Bush years, she spilled too many beans. She spilled too much information, and so Marco Rubio had to cut her off and remind her that she's in public and that she has to insist that if there's a hypothetical biological attack, it's the Russians, as if she has a crystal ball. Right? So that conspiracy theory turned out to be true. And you have journalists like Dilyana Gaitanjeva, who was on the show earlier. You have journalists, let me pull up her article over here, right? You have journalists like Dilyana Gaitanjeva who are talking about this years ago, who are way ahead of the curve and exposing these biolabs in Ukraine, and not just in Ukraine, in Georgia and all around Russia and Iran and China conveniently, right? And so this turns out to be true. And people like Dilyana were kicked out of the EU. They were shut down by U.S. officials. They were called crackpots. And now it turns out it's to be true. So if the U.S. is just doing, you know, normal, regular scientific and medical research, why is Victoria Nuland so afraid of these biolabs falling into Russian hands? In English, in the English language, when you say something is at risk of falling into the hands of the enemy or of someone else, that means you're talking about something dangerous, about a weapon, right? That's what it implies in the English language. And so by her body language, I mean, just look at how she's twisting that pen over here.
We are now quite.
She looks very worried. She looks very worried.
Be seeking to.
What is she hiding? I want to know what she's hiding. Why is she so tense? So the other consequence of this whole war in Ukraine is the Iran nuclear deal being put on pause. So I want to show you here the other consequence of the Ukraine war is the Iran nuclear deal, the talks in Vienna being put on hold. Okay? So I want to show you this tweet over here from Josep Borrell from the EU. He says, quote, "A pause in Vienna talks is needed due to external factors. A final text is essentially ready and on the table. That's true. They were days away from signing this thing, from getting the US back into the nuclear deal, lifting the sanctions on Iran. And then Russia all of a sudden asked for a written guarantee. Russia wants a written guarantee from the United States, at least at the level of Secretary of State, so Blinken, that if everything is fine with the nuclear deal and the sanctions are lifted on Iran, that Iran won't be punished with other sanctions just because it has economic ties with Russia. Okay? And so the Americans are furious about this. They're also desperate to get the nuclear deal back into motion all of a sudden because they need Iranian oil to get back on the markets, on the global markets, so the price of crude comes down because it's at an all-time high now since 2008. And so that's one factor. The other factor that they're not telling you, because they only want to blame it on Russia, the other factor they're not telling you is that the Americans have continued to seize Iranian oil at sea. So this was published by the Associated Press on March 10th, and they say that U.S. seized Iran oil cargo as Biden considers easing sanctions. So while the U.S. is in indirect talks with Iran about lifting sanctions, which includes the oil sector, they've still been continuing. They've still kept on stealing the oil. And I want to show you this tweet here from Professor Marandi, who's an advisor to the Iranian delegation at the nuclear talks. He said that U.S. piracy and the confiscation of 2 ships with Iranian oil cargo, the remaining terrorist designations, new U.S. demands, as well as the U.S. failure to remove more companies, businesses, and individuals from the maximum pressure sanctions regime are key problems that must be resolved. So it's not just about Russia's demand out of the blue for a written guarantee. It's also other things like the U.S. continuing to steal the oil. That's not exactly an act of good faith, a gesture, a goodwill gesture, and also the remaining terrorist designation. What Merendi is referring to is the fact that the United States still has the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, listed as a terrorist organization, which of course is part of their maximum pressure, their sanctions campaign, and it causes all types of problems in addition to the banking and oil sectors being targeted. So there are multiple issues now that need to be solved, but without a doubt, some people are calling the Iran nuclear deal the first diplomatic casualty of the Ukraine war. Does that mean that it's in the toilet? It's completely destroyed? No, but it definitely has been delayed. That's a fact. So this is really this is really desperate times for the U.S. The Americans are now running to the Venezuelans. They suddenly recognize Maduro. They say, please, please give us the oil. We will recognize you as president. And they want the Iranians, all of a sudden, they want to get back. The Americans want to get back in the nuclear deal so they can have Iranian oil. And they've been calling the Saudis and the Emiratis, guys, please help us produce more oil because they need the price of crude to go down. Because right now, with Russia and Ukraine, the price went up. Gas and crude, and then when the U.S. banned Russian oil, it went up even further. So the Americans are in a very nasty position right now, and they're desperately trying to get oil from other places, not just because they need to replace their own 3%, which comes from Russia, but just for global prices to go down, because the sanctions has certainly influenced that. So very, very, very interesting times, and I think that's more or less the quickest update that I can give you in the span of 20 minutes. I hope I've done well. But of course, there's more to come. I want to show you many more things. I see we have 1,700 people watching. Not bad. We only have 900 likes. Scandalous. Come on, guys. Get it together. We have 1,700 people watching. We should have 1,700 likes. Come on. Come on. Don't make me drop the shoes. By the way, again, you guys are amazing. We hit our goal yesterday on Patreon. Thank you to everyone who's supporting my work. I'm very grateful. And again, if you like what I do, you want me to continue, this is the spot for international relations. So please consider supporting the show. You can do $1 a month or $2 a month. It makes no difference to me. I'm grateful for any and all support. You're very kind. So thank you guys very much. I'll leave the links below. And since I have all of you here, it's not about money. Please listen to me. Please listen to me. I just showed you what happened to RT on YouTube. They are banning and censoring people left and right. This is serious shit. So I implore you to please go and subscribe on something other than YouTube. I'm happy that you're here on YouTube, but I need you to go to Rockfin, which is free, or Telegram, which is also free, or just the email newsletter, the most basic thing, an email newsletter, which is also free. So we have a backup plan. Do you understand? Because this is some serious shit right now. They're going balls to the wall. I showed you. You know, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. So again, I'm going to give you the links below. And Elizabeth is asking about Odyssey. I made an Odyssey account, actually. I have an Odyssey account. I'm going to show it to you right now. So it's, I think it's odyssey.com/RichardMedhurst. That should be it. Let me show it to you. Because you guys have been nagging me to make one, so I did. Give me a second. I don't know what the URL is. Hold on. Here we go. So I've never used this before, and I need to start uploading the videos, but I made an account. Can you see it? So there you go. Oh, I already have 16 followers. I didn't even tell anyone that I had an account. Yeah, yesterday I dropped into the chat. I was in the chat because the network that must not be named is RT is now on Odyssey. So I went into the chat briefly, and I was like, "Hi, everybody." And one of you guys was like, "Is that you? That's really you, Richard Medhurst?" And yes. I can't see myself on YouTube, so I have to come here. But you guys are very kind, so thank you. And in any case, that's where you can subscribe if you want. I'm giving you all the backups, and I'm trying to make an account on Rumble. You guys have been nagging me to make an account on Rumble, so I'm gonna do that. Someone took my fucking URL, my username, and that's really not cool, man. You need to give that back. Anyway, look, I'm gonna send you the Telegram thing. I don't know if Claudia has been giving you the links below, but I will do it myself. Just a second. Because you've been asking in the comments, how can I join? So I see Claudia. She's been sending you the links. Here's the Telegram. There you go. I'm putting this up on the screen. Guys, I know the worst part when you're watching a YouTube video or you're live is the plug. I really, trust me, I don't want to do this shit. But this is not a gaming channel. I don't do cooking videos. I don't paint my fucking nails or do makeup or something that's non-political. This is political. And so we got to be safe. We got to be careful. And that's why I'm asking you guys to kindly sign up on things like Telegram, which are, again, it's completely free. It's just so we have a backup. Again, not bad. 2,700. We were at 1,300 yesterday. So this is, you know, we basically doubled the number of followers there. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And again, there's Telegram. Here's Odyssey, and there's also Rockfin, ROKFIN.com/RichardMedhurst. We got about 18,000, almost 18,000 followers there. Not bad. So again, thank you to everyone. Let's continue. I want to show you, dude, the next thing that I'm going to show you is going to blow your fucking mind because it is so outrageous. I was preparing for the stream now, and give me a second just to stop this. Hold on. I was preparing for the stream now. And I saw this, and it really threw me off. I'm not even kidding. It made me so angry. I was just sitting there for like 10 minutes, and man, the stupidity of liberals, the lying, the deceit is frankly unparalleled. Let me show you something that's going to blow your goddamn mind. Really, you're going to think that it's a parody because no sane human being could write such a thing. Again. It's actually 2 documents, okay? Get ready. I don't think you're ready. This made me so bloody angry. Almost there. One moment. I'm just getting it ready. And again, I don't know if all of you guys are new here, but thank you for subscribing. If you're new, this is the spot for international news, U.S. politics, Syria, Palestine, Iran nuclear deal, Assange case. This is the spot. Don't even bother looking anywhere else. Don't even bother. Don't take my word for it. Ask the people in the comments. That's the plug. All right, so let me show you this outrageous nonsense over here. Absolutely outrageous. Oh, boy. So again, I saw this on Twitter and it made me so furious. I couldn't think for 10 minutes because it made me so angry. This is so indicative. It's emblematic of how liberals and neocons lie, and how blinded they are by their own anti-Russia propaganda, that they start making up the most, extraordinary lies. So I just want to show you this tweet from someone who used to be at the Atlantic Council. Do I need to say anything else? Look what they wrote. So they made an entire thread comparing Putin to Hitler, and they didn't just say, oh, Putin is like Hitler. No. They said, Hitler wasn't that bad and Putin is worse. I'm reading this and my brain is going to explode. Look what they said. They said, Hitler recognized Poland but called for concessions. Putin absurdly claims that Ukraine is not a state. Hitler had left the League of Nations. Putin violates every international law there is. Look at this one. Hitler did not use chemical weapons. What? Did you go to school in a barn? Have you been living under a cave, you heathen? What do you mean Hitler did not use chemical weapons? Have you not heard of how they used to gas Jews and other people, gypsies, political dissidents, homosexuals in the concentration camps? They would use Cyclone B, which is a chemical weapon. I can't believe this. How do you make up such an outrageous lie? This is how bad they hate Putin. Like, this is how bad they want you to hate Putin, that they just start rewriting history. It's not even like, it's such an easily debunkable lie. It's not even something to do with Hitler. The Germans were using mustard gas in World War I. It's not even something unique to Hitler. Why would you say such rubbish? Why would you say that? And the worst part, he made a whole thread like this. It's an entire thread. I have repeatedly claimed that Putin is today's Hitler. No, he's not. I'm sorry. You can crap all over Putin. I don't care. Go and criticize Russia, insult Russia as much as you like. That's your issue. But this is just a fake, false historical comparison. I'm sorry. It's not the same thing at all. At all. It's not even comparable. What a moron. And this is the thing with the liberals. They always do this. I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm just old enough to remember when the war on terror was starting. And you would see this everywhere. They would say Saddam Hussein is the new Hitler. Osama bin Laden is the new Hitler. Bashar al-Assad is the new Hitler. Kim Jong-un, he's Hitler. People said Trump is Hitler. How many times have you heard that from liberals? Trump is Hitler, right? He's both a Russian agent and Hitler at the same time. Yeah. How many times have you heard that? They keep using this term till it doesn't have any value anymore. And what that achieves in the end, it doesn't achieve anything, but what happens in the end is it makes them look ridiculous. It discredits, perhaps if they have any legitimate points. And more importantly, it minimizes the crimes of the Nazis. It makes it look like what the Nazis did is not so bad, when it is very bad. He's saying here, for example, that Hitler just wanted concessions from Poland. Concessions? Do you even know what happened in Poland? The capital, Warsaw, 90%, 90, of Warsaw is gone. 90% gone. They flattened Warsaw. That's just the capital I'm talking about, just the capital. Just in Poland alone, you have millions of Poles and Jews who were killed in Poland, just Poland. And we haven't even touched the other countries that the Nazis bombed and committed genocide in. I want to show you this. Look at this. These are World War II deaths. As you can see, the Soviet Union, they lost a lot of people, right? More than anyone else. The Chinese as well. And how many Americans do you think, how many Britons do you think know about World War II in China? Because, we tend to think of it started on September 1st, 1939. But other historians in Asia, they look at it starting in 1937, right? The rape of Nanking, all the genocide that the Japanese committed in China. But just going back to this, look how many people Poland lost. Millions and millions. It's extraordinary. I'm astonished by this historical illiteracy. They're so desperate to brainwash you with this anti-Russia crap that they just make fools of themselves, complete, utter fools. And the other thing is that the Soviets, it just proves my point. Look how many people they lost fighting the Nazis. They lost more than anyone else. And they also caused more German casualties than anyone else. And again, 80% of all German casualties in World War II, they weren't inflicted by the British. It wasn't the Americans. It was the Soviets. We were allied with the Soviets, right? So they did more than anyone else. And just the other day, I was showing you how they were making these comparisons with, Tony Blinken. He was saying that what Putin is doing to Ukraine is the same thing as the siege of Leningrad. No, it's not. It's just absolutely not. And the irony here is that I think Putin himself is born there. His brother died in that siege, his older brother. You had, I think it's 2 million people, between 1 million and 2 million. I mean, just the figures are astronomical. Over 1 million people who died in that siege. You know, the Nazis wanted to wipe it off the face of the planet. And then you're coming here and telling the Russians who've sacrificed more than anyone in World War II, you're telling them that they're Nazis. And you think they're going to take kindly to that. You think they're going to take kindly to that. You don't know, again, you're poking the bear, and you don't understand that for the Russians, they have a real axe to grind with Nazis. I mean, anyone should, frankly. But in Russian, they don't even call it World War II. They say it's the Great Patriotic War. That's what they call it. Because it was that big of an event. And then you have clowns like this moron here, former Atlantic Council, writing this nonsense, absolute nonsense, right? So let me show you another thing. This is, again, I apologize in advance for subjecting you to this verbal diarrhea, but this is Michael McFaul. He really puts the foul in McFaul. He used to be the U.S. ambassador to Russia, and he's, of course, he's a darling right now of the Democrats because all he does is repeat the same, Russiagate talking points and anti-Putin talking points. Yeah, it's everything Democrats love and everything neoconservatives love, they see in Michael McFaul. Let me play you this clip.
I was just on Ukrainian television just 30 minutes ago, and one of the commentators said something interesting about how horrific this war is. One of the Russian journalists said, there's one difference between Hitler when he was coming in and Putin. Hitler didn't kill ethnic Germans. He didn't kill German-speaking people. That's I think people need to remember that when we're talking about cities like...
What? Yo, I'm going to lose it, man. These people, they don't stop. What do you mean Hitler didn't kill any Germans? Are you a moron? What kind of a clown are you? The Nazis were in power in 1933, and that's 6 years before there's any war with Europe and frankly, the rest of the world. What do you think was happening during those 6 years in Germany, you fucking utter clown? And then, of course, afterwards, I mean, when the Germans were losing, towards the end of the war, they even flooded the subway and killed all the people hiding in the subway who were Germans. I mean, they were sending people off to the slaughter. What the hell are you talking about? What an absolute clown. What a moron. This guy's an ambassador or former ambassador. They bring this guy, he's some fucking expert. Again, they manufacture a new history. They're revisionists, right? They're rewriting history, all for the sake of promoting war against Russia. You could come and criticize Russia, and you could shit on them for what they're doing in Ukraine without doing this, because this discredits you and makes you look like a fucking clown, and that is what you are. You have paint on your face.
Like Kharkiv and Mariupol and Kiev, there are large populations there, up to a third and sometimes as much to a half that are Russian speakers and are ethnic Russians, and yet Putin doesn't seem to care about that. He slaughters the very people he said he has come to liberate. I was just on Ukrainian television.
Wow. I just want to say one thing. Do you guys remember shock and awe when they invaded Iraq in 2003? How many people did they kill in the first weeks during the initial invasion? It's easily over 10,000. It's between 10 and 15,000 people. If the Russians wanted to, they would have flattened Ukraine by now. They would have flattened it. And again, I'm not saying it's okay what they're doing, but the Americans wage war differently. So they carpet bomb everything, and they think, oh, well, the Russians must be fighting war the way we do. That's absolutely incorrect. And the second thing is that this guy thinks that by creating parallels with Hitler, it's like let's emotionally rile up people, because we'll say Hitler, we'll say Nazi, and these are buzzwords, and so people, they don't know any better, and they just assume that, yeah, it must be telling the truth. Man, those Nazis were pretty bad, so I guess Putin is the same, and then they support wars. And it's, again, the thing is, it's not even exclusive to Russia. They do it with every nation they're going against. You've heard it before. You know, I'm not hallucinating. They've said this about everyone. They've said it about Assad, about Maduro, about Kim Jong-un. They even said it about Iran before, right, with Ahmadinejad. They said it about, what's his name again? Gaddafi. There's always a Hitler. And of course, bin Laden, they used to call him the new Hitler. They always have a new Hitler. Saddam Hussein is the new Hitler. And if you come out and you talk reason, or not even reason, you just start asking questions. They say, oh, you're a Putin apologist, you're a Saddam apologist, you're an Assadist, you're a terrorist sympathizer. Yeah, okay. Why don't you just shut the fuck up and answer the arguments and talk some real history instead of fabricating and revising history? And this is incredible to me, because they act like, you know, Hitler was he was a friend to Poland. He recognized Poland and he called for concession. That makes him sound like a diplomat. You know, he was just a diplomat. Hitler was just this misunderstood diplomat. No. He didn't just, you know, carpet bomb Poland and kill millions of Jews. Of course not. He just wanted concessions. That's the impression you would get from listening to these neoconservative scumbags. That's the impression you would get. And really, they're so convinced of this. They're so full of it, you know? Hitler had his awful death camps, that's true. Putin has showed in action that he is comfortable with massive terror bombings of civilians in Grozny and Aleppo. He has used chemical weapons for murders in Russia and Britain. I'm surprised they didn't mention Assad, right? Like the other thread I showed you from the White House, where the White House said, well, you see, Russia helped the Syrians use chemical weapons, when actually Russia and the US helped dismantle Syria's chemical weapons program, but that's another story. And then, of course, I mean, look, we're not gonna deny that the war in Syria was very, very, very violent, and Aleppo got hit the worst, because he mentioned Aleppo. Aleppo really destroyed compared to Damascus, for example. But you can't just come and say, oh yeah, the Russians flattened the city. I mean, look how the Americans fight terrorism in Mosul. And then, of course, Aleppo was filled with these Daesh characters, and they create these situations, and then they have the nerve to blame people for defending themselves. I mean, it's really ridiculous. All right. In any case, I think that these comparisons are completely obnoxious. I think they're completely unnecessary. You can easily you can easily condemn Russia and condemn the war. Be my guest. Go ahead. Do that without resorting to this. This is just ridiculous. This is just absurd. It's like with Bashar al-Assad. It's like you can criticize the Syrian government and you can criticize Bashar al-Assad without saying, oh, there were chemical weapons. Like, why do you invent this lie? There are so many other things that are true that you could talk about, but they don't want that. They want to create this red line. Right? So they use these buzzwords, oh, chemical weapons, weapons of mass destruction, Hitler, right? And so that's how you propagandize the masses, because otherwise they're not really going to give a shit. You understand? So it's just buzzwords that they get people like, what? And then they get your attention and they brainwash you and condition you with that shit. That's what it's about. They do this every single time. This is nothing new. Nothing new. Thank you, Crazy Puppet, for the super chat. You're very kind. We got, how many? 2,000. We got 2,200 people watching, but we only have 1,500 likes. Come on, guys. Don't be like that. Hit the like button. Drop a WMD on the like button, right? Throw a shoe at it. We should have 2,100 viewers, 2,100 likes. Yalla. So let me just read some of your comments. You guys were sending some very nice comments. Let me read them back to you. Applejack says Putin is throwing babies out of incubators in Kuwait. Yeah, that's. I don't know how many of you recognize this line, but they used to say that. They used to say that Saddam Hussein was throwing babies out of incubators in Kuwait. It's not a joke. It's like the thing with the communists. They used to say, well, the communists they're eating babies in Cuba, right? And then turns out all of it is bullshit. So Donnie says Russia never had black slaves, nor did Russia create a market to trade black slaves. Russia never colonized the global south. Well, there's some people who would disagree with you. They would say that Russia invaded Afghanistan. Russia is an imperialist. People even say Putin is an imperialist. I mean, the Soviet Union is certainly a different beast altogether. I don't think you can. The satellite states, Eastern Europe, Armenia, Poland, all of these satellite states that were part of the Soviet Union. Certainly, a lot of people would look at that as an empire, right? But today, Russia today, I don't know. I think a little bit of that is projection. You know, when you have an American or someone from the UK saying that Putin is an imperialist, like, do you listen to yourself? Like, do you know where you come from? It's a joke, you know. Anthony says Western journalists rehabilitating Hitler just to own Russia was definitely not my 2022 bingo card. Yeah, I feel you. It's incredible. Thank you very much, AP6912, for your sticker. Thank you, Naz. Says crazies are rehabilitating Hitler and Bandera. Yep, that's what they're doing. And Levy says clips on Twitter showing up of Iran bombing an American consulate in Iraq. Please look into it. You're the best, brother. Much love to you and your family. You're very kind. I haven't heard anything about that. When you mean consulate, do you mean a base? Because there are many bases, U.S. bases in Iraq that are hit regularly by the PMU. Let me see if I can find anything on the spot. Oh yeah, it's in Erbil. I see. Yeah. Well, I mean, let me pull up the article so you guys can see it yourselves. And again, this is just my initial impression. To me, so they're saying that missiles, sorry, I clicked away. Missiles target U.S. consulate in Erbil in Iraq. And videos shared on social media from the scene show multiple large explosions in the area. Right. So there's an airport here as well. Right, near this consulate. And so they say a number of missiles were fired towards the U.S. consulate in northwestern Iraq. The governor of Erbil stated that multiple missiles fell in the area, and it was unclear whether the target was the U.S. consulate or the airport in the city. The health minister of Kurdistan stated there were no injuries or deaths reported in the attack. That's good. Here are some of the videos, guys. Wow.
اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد.
Wow, that's not a game, huh? Kurdistan 24 studio. Looks like the studio sustained some damage. I mean, honestly, look at this paragraph. They say it is as of yet unclear who fired the missiles. Iran has threatened retaliation in recent days for the deaths of 2 IRGC officers in an alleged Israeli airstrike in Syria last week. What do you mean alleged Israeli airstrike? Who the fuck else did the airstrike? Mongolia, Zimbabwe, China? It was Israel. Alleged Israeli airstrike. Get the hell out of here. Like, show some self-respect. Show some self-respect. Just admit it. You know it was you. Again, this is the Jerusalem Post. So, of course, they're not going to say that. In Israel, the Israelis, they kept a lot of British colonial laws, right? Go figure. And one of them is the military censor. So, the Israelis say, oh, we have a democracy and we're the only democracy in the Middle East. The Israeli military can put a gag order on the Israeli media and forbid them from talking about military operations. So, of course, even though they know it was Israel, you need one shred of common sense. They're never going to admit that. Military censor or otherwise. In any case, let me just go back to the strike. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the case. I wouldn't be surprised because these U.S. bases that are in Iraq, and again, they call them consulates like it's an embassy, right? If you look at the embassy in Baghdad, the U.S. embassy in Iraq, in Baghdad, do you guys know how big that embassy is? Like, usually an embassy is like an apartment, the size of an apartment, or a building, It depends on the country and where the mission is. But they're tiny. They're tiny. It's usually some office in a building. The U.S. embassy in Baghdad is a fucking city. It's the size of the Vatican. I'm not saying that like as hyperbole. It's literally like literally the size of the Vatican. I need to show you this. Hold on. It's extraordinary. I can't even grasp how big it is, man. That thing is enormous. It's absolutely colossal. It's a behemoth. I'm trying to get a picture for you. Like look how far back they had to go just to take the photo. It's enormous. It's absolutely enormous. And so this is in the green zone, as they call it, right? And my point with that is it's basically a military base. It's a military base without question, without doubt. Now, obviously, just because the Americans make their embassies into military bases doesn't mean that it's okay to attack them. It's still a diplomatic mission. There's the Vienna Convention. But I'm just telling you what is happening in Iraq. This is not new. You have the Hashd al-Sha'bi, so this is the Popular Mobilization Forces, or they're also called Popular Mobilization Units. You call them whatever you like. It's PMU or PMF. Both are fine. So these are the so-called Iran-backed militias that you always hear about. And I think it's a bit disingenuous because, yes, they are backed by Iran, but that's not their only, characteristic. They're mostly made up of Iraqis, and you have they're not Shias. They say they're Shia militias. They're not Shias only. They have Sunnis, Druze, Christians, you name it. And so it's just a group of militias that are fighting the American occupation and also acting as as a civil sort of home defense, a sort of national guard, if you will. And obviously, very often they do retaliate to these attacks. So you just saw a few days ago the Israelis killed 2 Iranians in Syria. Again, I don't know if that's true because we were also seeing that they killed 2 civilians. Either way, it's not uncommon. My point is, it's not uncommon for the Hashd al-Sha'bi, the PMU, to hit these U.S. bases in Syria and in Iraq. And again, most of the time, they're not consulates and they're not embassies. They're just bases. They're illegal military bases. In Iraq, the way they try to hide it, they say, well, this is Operation Inherent Resolve. That's the stupid name that they call it. And they say that they're in Iraq fighting ISIS. So you remember the trick that they did? Bush invades Iraq in 2003, and then Obama inherits it, and he pulls out of Iraq, and then he's like, oh, oops, it's ISIS. Guess we gotta go back in. And they go back into Iraq. They never left. And they justify the military presence with that. Okay? So same shit, different day. And they claim that that's why they need all these bases. That's just Iraq. In Syria, they don't even bother making up a lie. It's just like, we're keeping the oil, as Trump says. There's nothing. There's no cover story. It's just we're in Syria. And so in any case, you have the Hashd al-Sha'bi. They operate in both Syria and Iraq, mostly Iraq. But yeah, they just want you to know that, it's some Shia militia. No, it's not. It's not just Shia, and it's a resistance group. Nene, thank you for the donation. Nene says the history of Ukrainian independence predates the Third Reich. Nationalists were born in the chaos of the fall of monarchies. Xenophobic aristocrats funded warlords to commit pogroms for independence. I would very much recommend that you guys go and watch. Again, YouTube has taken it down, but you should really, really go watch Oliver Stone's film, Igor's film, Ukraine on Fire. It's very good. Gives you a nice, concise history of Ukraine. They also have Revealing Ukraine, which was another film they put out. And then there's a third film from 2021, which is very good. In any case, I'll have the interview for you up soon, because I just spoke to Igor, and again, he directed the movie, and Oliver Stone produced it, and it's been censored everywhere now. Take a look at this news story here. So this is from Al Jazeera. They're saying Israel's parliament has passed a law denying naturalization to Palestinians from the occupied West Bank or Gaza married to Israeli citizens, forcing thousands of Palestinian families to either emigrate or live apart. Wow. Very democratic, right? Again, Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East, as we keep hearing. So, let's take a look. The so-called citizenship law passed on Thursday just before the Knesset, which is the Israeli parliament, disbanded for a holiday recess, 45 to 15 majority vote. It replaced a similar temporary order that first passed during the height of a Palestinian uprising in 2003 and was renewed annually until it expired last July, when the Knesset failed to secure a simple majority needed to extend it. So Naftali Bennett, his Yamina party, he's the prime minister, allied with the right-wing factions, what a surprise, in opposition to pass the legislation above protests of more liberal parties inside and outside the government. I just want to say one thing. Even liberal Israelis are still Zionists, and you can't have a democracy with Zionism. Quote, the combination of forces between the coalition and the opposition led to an important result for the security of the state. You see the word, the language they use, the wording. Important result for the security of the state and its fortification as a Jewish state, said the Interior Minister, Eilat Shaked. So, you heard her. You see what's going on here. They're saying that it's a security issue that Palestinians cannot be given Israeli citizenship, even if they're married to an Israeli. Incredible, right? Incredible. Under the terms of the citizenship law, which will be valid for 1 year, Palestinian spouses of Israelis can obtain temporary 2-year residence permits, although they can be revoked on security grounds. Do you see what's going on here? This is why Israel can never be a democracy, despite the fact they keep repeating his slogan a million times. It's not just because of the bombings, that's obvious. It's not just because of the apartheid. It's not just because of all of the other human rights abuses that they do, the crimes against humanity, the ethnic cleansing. It's because fundamentally, just by design, they cannot allow the Palestinians to gain citizenship and be treated as equals. Do you know why? Because Palestinians outnumber the Jewish immigrants, the Israelis. So if you gave the Palestinians in Palestine, who are living at home, you gave them Israeli citizenship and tried to make them equal, the Palestinians, they would have a majority. They could, maybe, I don't know, hypothetically, they could just vote their way into the presidency, disband Israel, and have Palestine come. I don't know. They just don't want Palestinians being equals because they know that they're outnumbered by the Palestinians because it's fucking Palestine, obviously. And so they can't have a democracy. They can't have it because it will compromise the security of the Jewish state, as they say, right? And this is the reality. They don't want to explain this to you in the West because they say we have shared values with the Israelis. That's their shared values, apparently. Apartheid. This is what they're talking about, apparently. Let me show you something else. This is a tweet from the same person, okay? This is a tweet from the same person, the same woman, the Interior Minister, after this vote. Look what she said. A Jewish and democratic state, 1 point. A state of all its citizens, 0. So she's literally bragging on Twitter about making sure that it's only a Jewish state. Do you understand? And look at what this person said here in the quote. They said, she's the Israeli Minister of Interior reacting to the passing of a law banning Palestinian family unification. Remember this the next time a British politician crows about shared values with Israel, because that's, of course, what you're going to hear from Keir Starmer. That's what you're going to hear, of course, from, each one of these sellouts, these lackeys, whether it's Johnson's cabinet or in Canada or in the US. It doesn't matter. Germany, they're all Zionists. They all support Israel. They all support the apartheid that's going on, the oppression, the illegal occupation. This is the reality. And you will never hear them make these criticisms because they will lose their job. You can't do politics in the West and criticize Israel because look what happens. You end up like Jeremy Corbyn. They crucify you. You're done with. You're done with. So the irony here about citizenship is, while this war in Ukraine is going on, they're bringing Ukrainians as refugees to Israel, or occupied Palestine, as it should be called. And so this is what happens. I want to show you this. This is very interesting, okay? Basically, for Ukrainian refugees, they created something of a deposit, okay? So this requirement for 10,000 shekels, it was criticized by the Ukrainian ambassador and ministers, and basically they want to. Let me explain what it was. So Israel is set to stop requiring refugees fleeing Russia's invasion of Ukraine to deposit 10,000 shekels as a condition of entry to the country. Okay? Currently, Ukrainian refugees without first-degree relatives in Israel must provide the deposit to be returned to them upon exiting. The deposit is held as a guarantee that the Ukrainians will eventually leave Israel, which rarely grants refugee status to non-Jews, and instead allows them temporary entry as tourists. Channel 12 quoted sources close to, again, here we go, it's the same woman that we were just talking about, Shaked, the interior minister, as saying that the measure was merely temporary. And it was also reported that Shaked will bring the government a series of amendments regarding the issue, including a cap on how many non-Jewish Ukrainian refugees can enter Israel, as well as eligibility for work visas. So once again, it's not even just about Palestinians living under the occupation who face apartheid. Even with refugees, they discriminate between Jews and non-Jews. Can you imagine if any country discriminated between Jewish and non-Jewish refugees and said, like, we're only going to take Muslims and Christians and no Jews? The Israelis would lose it. And rightfully so. Honestly, that's not okay. Like that is absolutely xenophobic, and that is discriminatory. So, but I'm just saying, hypothetically, if that happened, they would scream bloody murder, and they'd be right to do so. But when they do it to others, it's okay. No one cares about this. You know that we constantly hear about, oh, we stand with Ukraine. The UK stands with Ukraine, but the UK won't let any refugees in, right? They won't waive the visa requirement, and the US stands with Ukraine, and the EU stands with Ukraine. Really? Why don't you care about these people who are being discriminated against, who are Ukrainian, just because they're not Jewish? Isn't that weird? Shouldn't you be pressing your Israeli friends to let in more refugees? I don't know. Isn't that the normal thing to do? Very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. And the obvious irony here is that many Israelis are Ukrainians. I don't know what they taught you in school, or if they taught you this anywhere, but Israelis are immigrants. They're colonizers. They're settlers. Okay? Just like the Europeans went to what is today the United States, to North America, South America, and colonized it. That's what the Israelis are doing, but they're doing it in front of you in real time. And where do they come from? Most of them Eastern Europe, Poland, Ukraine. Many of them come from other places as well. UK, Australia, anywhere. Could be anywhere. It doesn't matter, because the point is that if you're Jewish, you can go and live in Israel and get citizenship. And that's who's paying for that. It's the Palestinians. You can take a Palestinian's land. You know, this land might have belonged to a Palestinian family that's now been turned to refugees 60 years ago. 3 generations later, still refugees, but you can take their land and their home because it's a Jewish state. And again, I think it's very, I think a lot of Jews would agree that it's not a Jewish state, it's a Zionist state, because the Israelis claim to speak for all Jews. Well, again, here's a shocker for you. Not all Jews live in Israel, and not all Jews support Israel. Israel is, 70 years old? Zionism itself, the ideology of Zionism, is not even 120 years old. So, logically, if Zionism is Judaism, that would mean there were no Jews until 120 years ago? That's rubbish. You've had Jews for thousands of years, right? So Judaism predates Zionism, a political ideology, by eons. And so when they claim to speak for all Jews, I mean, that in of itself is anti-Semitic, as many Jews have pointed out. But my point here is that Netanyahu, he himself, where was he from? His parents, where did they come from? Ukraine, Poland? I don't remember. But Naftali Bennett, who's the current Israeli prime minister, he's American. He's from the US, right? And he goes to this colony, and he's in charge now, ruling over the Palestinians who've been there for God knows how many generations. Like, do you see how unfair this is? It's not even just a question of, oh, he's in power and Palestinians are not. No, no, no. He's in power leading a settler colony that is, I mean, look at Gaza. It's an open-air prison. Look at the West Bank. Look at Palestine proper, how they treat the Palestinians. Even the Ukrainians, like, you know, if you're not Jewish, they're going to treat you differently. It's so obvious that this is it's not democratic and it's apartheid. That much is clear. Like, you know, it's one thing you want to support Israel. Okay, that's your issue. But don't come here and try to bullshit me and tell me it's democratic, because it's fucking not. Okay? And that they respect international law. Really? Why don't you give back the Golan Heights to Syria then, that the UN's been telling you to retreat from since 1967? What about Jerusalem? Jerusalem is not yours. The UN said it's a corpus separatum, it's an independent entity. It doesn't belong to anyone. You illegally annexed Jerusalem too. There's so many things, man. We could be here all night. We could be here all night. And JJ Salem says in the comments, even black Jews. That is absolutely true. You have a lot of cases of racism against black Jews. You know, people from Ethiopia, for example. You have Jews in Ethiopia. They go to Israel. They're not treated equal. Like, this is, you know, basically, it's really messed up, man. Sorry, I'm just putting these away because I need to drink something. Guys, we have 1,800 people watching. Very good. Again, these are dangerous times. Look how they're banning people left and right. Look how they're so emboldened now, these liberals, to just censor anyone they don't like. They're taking advantage of what's happening in Ukraine to shit on any form of dissent, anyone who diverges from their talking points, from their narrative. So again, I highly implore you guys, please make sure that you're subscribed on Odyssey or on Telegram or on Rockfin. Just pick one of them and just go subscribe. It's totally free. The whole point is we have a backup. That's the only reason I'm asking you. This doesn't cost you a penny. The only annoying thing, I guess, is you have to make an account. But I mean, it's free. So I'm just saying that because, you know, everything's going well here, thankfully. But we should still be smart. We should still have a backup planning and contingency. Okay? So I'm going to paste the links for you. Just give me a moment. One moment to paste the links. We haven't had a crab dance. Hold on. Did someone join on Patreon? Because if someone joined, I should play them a crab dance. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Okay. We have Headwork. And we have Robin. Thank you very much, Headwork and Robin, for supporting my channel and supporting my my journalistic endeavors and activities. Every time someone joins on Patreon, I play a crab dance for them. Again, you can donate $1 a month if you want. It makes no difference. You can put in any amount you like and stop whenever you like. And in any case, the ritual here is we play them a crab dance. So I'm going to play a crab dance for you guys. Thank you very much.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انتوا كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Isn't that wonderful? I love a good crab dance. Guys, every time we hit the goal, we're supposed to change it. Give me a second. As a matter of fact, let me switch over. Give me 1 second. Where was I? Better. So, yeah, every time we hit a goal on Patreon, we add things to the crab dance. So I promised you guys I would add a couple of things. Excuse the delay. You know, I've been drowning in work, but I'll try to get it done for you. So again, thank you guys very much for supporting the channel. I don't know how many Patreons we've got right now, but It's something ridiculous. I don't know, 612. 612. Not bad. Not bad, guys. We were like 300 just 2 weeks ago. That was really amazing. Thank you guys very much. So we've got a donation here on PayPal. This is from, it's loading. This is from Marius. It says, I like your channel very much. Keep going. I will. Thank you, Marius. You're very kind. Here's a very generous donation from Ron. There's no note, but thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. And again, you guys have also sent some in the chat. Thank you to Crazy Puppet for your donation. I appreciate that. And again, let me just check my phone because you guys send things sometimes. I don't want to keep you waiting forever. So one of you on Telegram says, Maria says, watched your YouTube video. Great job. Thank you. I don't know what video you're talking about, but I'm glad you liked it. Thank you. Okay. So guys, Torres is saying Iran attacked a U.S. base in Iraq an hour ago. I know. We just talked about it. I mean, they say it's Iran. I'm gonna go ahead and assume it was maybe Iran. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think we can know for sure. But I think it might have been Iran. Don't quote me on that. We'll see what happens. You guys are talking about Erbil. I know we covered it just a moment ago. So let me see. What are some of the other breaking stories that we should talk about? Huh? What are some of the other breaking stories that we should discuss? I'll pull this up for you so we can take a look together. How about that? Let's take a look. You guys can see that? So they're saying it's a ballistic missile attack. And again, it's what we were just talking about. But how do they know that it's Iran? You guys need to understand something. Every time someone shits and farts in Iraq, they say, look, it was Iran. It's always Iran. Now, again, it's not out of place for the PMU to do this, the Hashd al-Shabi. But let me tell you one thing. Let me maybe open your eyes a little bit. Let me broaden your horizons a little bit. Can I ask you a question? Let's answer me in the comments right now, okay? I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to answer in the comments. What would happen? What would the United States do if China came and started putting bases in Mexico, in Tijuana, near Texas, maybe some, on the other side in Canada? What would you think the U.S. would do? They would just leave those bases there because China's saying it's fighting terrorism? What do you think they would do? Depende says they would bomb them. Just says they would freak out. Nasrallah says total meltdown. I see bomb, destroy them, Cuban crisis, bombs away, attack, start World War III, nuke them, poop. That's a good one. They would destroy them. And I want to ask you another question. Do you think that only the U.S. military would do that? Or do you think that people... Look, in the U.S., you have the Second Amendment, right? It's the people's right to bear arms, okay? And the right to form militias, okay? That's enshrined in the U.S. Constitution. So if Americans have this value at home, and they have this mentality at home in their laws, why are they surprised when people elsewhere do it? Like in Iraq, do you think people there are also not going to form militias when you're on their land? You're going to piss some people off. It's really not complicated. I don't know why it's so... surprising. And obviously Iran is next door. Okay, Iran is next door. They don't want foreign bases on their border because they've had Afghanistan to the east, US bases there, and they got US bases in Azerbaijan, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And they also got them in Qatar and in the Arab kingdoms, and then also in Iraq. I mean, there's only so many bases you can take. There has to be a base threshold before you lose your shit, So, again, I'm not taking sides. I'm just asking questions, and I'm telling you guys to answer. And I'm explaining this very rationally, that when a country, particularly a regional power, is surrounded by adversarial forces, they tend to go and support resistance elements in those countries, right? So it's not surprising. It shouldn't surprise you that Iran backs these PMUs. But what annoys me is they just call them they're Shia militias. No, they're not. And like, when you say that, it like implies that the only ideology they have is like it's a Muslim ideology and they're just religious fanatics. No, it's quite the opposite actually, and they're not even just Shia. So, you know, it's just. And then they do the opposite when it's like pro-NATO forces. You know, when it's like, for example, Al-Qaeda in Syria. Al-Qaeda was on the side of the United States. And they don't call it Al-Qaeda. They don't call them extremists like Wahhabism, you know, the Takfiris. No, they call them moderate rebels. So they do the opposite and they try to whitewash it. When those are actually, they're actually legitimately religious extremists. Like that's their whole ideology. And of course, they're just guns for hire. Just guys, give me 1 second. I really need to copy an important file. Give me 1 second. I'm putting this over here. Give me a second. This is very important work, very important journalism business. And we have another one over here. All right. So in any case, you shouldn't be surprised about these things. Because they're really not that eventful. And I've seen this story a million times when they say that, oh, the base in Erbil has been attacked. This base has been attacked a million times. It's not surprising. I mean, again, thankfully, those things don't escalate. Usually you'll have a few rocket attacks in Erbil or maybe in, I don't know, some of the oil bases in Syria. I mean, oil bases, I mean the US bases on the oil fields. So it's normal. It's normal. Usually it doesn't grow into anything bigger. And I think it might be retaliation for those two fighters, or I don't know if they were really fighters. The Israelis constantly say they've killed, this Iranian guy and that guy from Hamas and this guy from Hezbollah. They're always killing people, right? Like so successfully. They have 100% precision and success rate. I don't know if it's true. I think half of it is psychological warfare. So I wouldn't always believe it. And half the time they won't even tell you, actually. The Israelis don't admit to that stuff because then they'd be in trouble, obviously. In any case, guys, let me go back to your comments. We've Applejack is telling me the thing with the same thing, and Who is also talking about the same thing. Again, guys, we just went through this. If you want, we'll go through it again. An American base in Iraq was hit, and they're rushing to blame Iran because every time someone shits or farts or coughs in Iraq, it's Iran's fault. And again, it's quite likely the Popular Mobilization Forces, the Hashd al-Shabi, just PMU for short, who did it because they're a militia. And let me just show you this article over here. You pick the first one. Here you go. The Drive. So they say footage posted on social media reportedly shows the impact of at least 5 projectiles in Erbil, Iraq, near a U.S. military base and consulate. Unconfirmed reports indicate the attacks involved Fatah 110 ballistic missiles launched from Iran, not smaller rockets or artillery shells used in numerous previous attacks against U.S. installations in Iraq. So again, it's unconfirmed, so I don't know what to tell you because it's breaking news. But they're saying even if artillery rockets were used, they would have had to have been quite large. Here's some footage. Here's more footage. Again, these are completely unconfirmed. I don't know what to tell you. And you have to consider the Iranians and the Americans are finishing up nuclear talks in Vienna. Why the hell would the Iranians go and strike a US consulate? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. And again, I could be wrong because this is a breaking story, but so far, from what I can tell, the Iranians have not confirmed that they are responsible for that. Usually when the Iranians do respond, like when Trump killed Soleimani, the Iranians went and hit the Ain al-Assad base. They admit it. They're not going to hide and pretend they didn't do it. The Iranians are very direct. If they hit you, they're going to say that we hit you. So, oh, they actually named the attack I was just talking about here. Right? They said, if confirmed, the attack would be the first of its kind since a coordinated missile strike in January 2020. That's exactly what I was talking about against the Ain al-Assad base. So, again, I'm just going to give you my initial thoughts. It could be retaliation for the 2 Iranians from the IRGC who were killed the other day. It could be, but it's not confirmed. If it is Iran, or let's say these Iranian-backed militias, the PMU, then that would make sense because that's usually what happens. You know, the Israelis will carry out an airstrike in Syria and kill someone from Iran, and then the Iranians will hit a US base in Iraq as retaliation. It's always like that. It's tit for tat. This is always ongoing. But they're saying here that the missiles were launched from Iran. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know. I think if the Iranians are behind it, they certainly wouldn't launch it from Iran because, again, that's a very dramatic escalation. No need to do that when you have people in Iraq who can do it for you. Is no point. So in any case, that's what's happening. It's breaking news. No one's been injured or killed, thankfully. And let me show you what I was talking about here. This is the strike from a few days ago. 2 Iranian forces killed in Israel's airstrike outside Damascus. Okay? So that's what it would be in retaliation for. Okay? So I posted about that on Twitter when that happened. And at first, I think it was they said that it was 2 civilians who had been killed. Then again, the Israelis, they bomb Syria so often, it could have been 2 separate strikes. I'm just double checking because my point the other day was that, look, Israel's bombing Syria. They've killed civilians there. No one gives a shit. You know, they're violating Syria's territory and sovereignty. No one cares. They only care about Ukraine. Yeah. These are 2 separate attacks. So the Israelis bombed civilians, and then they also killed 2 Iranians. So anyway, that's all I can say for now. And we'll leave it there until I have some more information for you. PTP says, is this the Iranian answer to the US over oil talks? No, the oil tanks, I think I mean. No. The Iranian answer to the oil tanks is just send more to Venezuela or whoever it is, you know? But no, the Iranians wouldn't launch missiles in response to that. They don't operate like that. Ravi says the United Snakes. The United Snakes is a good one, yeah. Give me a second, guys. I'm trying to read your comments and see what you guys are talking about. Thank you for the Crazy Puppet. Crazy Puppet says, we have warned the U.S. that pumping up Ukraine with arms from several nations orchestrated by Washington is not just dangerous, but something that makes these armed convoys legitimate targets. Yeah, so I think that was a statement put out by Russia. They were saying that they would target the arms shipments, right? Let me show you. Levy, thank you for your comment. Levy says, it's me again. Thank you for everything you do, Richard, and for taking such a long time to answer my concerns and committing yourself to truth in journalism. You're truly a blessing. Buying merch. Well, you're very kind, and of course, I don't mind answering your guys' questions. That's what I'm here for. So, actually, no, I'm here to do 8-hour streams and then answer your questions, so we make it even longer. Let me show you what the Russians are saying. So, this is from a few hours ago, okay? So, again, this is just from a few hours ago. The Russians are saying that they will target Western arms supplies to Ukraine. The headline from Al Jazeera reads. Okay, so Russia has said its troops could target supplies of Western weapons in Ukraine, where the Russian army has been advancing since late February. Quote, we warned the United States that the orchestrated pumping of weapons from a number of countries is not just a dangerous move. It is a move that turns these convoys into legitimate targets. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov told state television on Saturday. He said Moscow had warned about the consequences of the thoughtless transfer to Ukraine of weapons like man-portable air defense systems, anti-tank missile systems, and so on. So, of course, what would those be? Those would be, for example, Stinger missiles, and of course, javelins, NLAWs, those sorts of things, which both the UK and US have provided. And so Ryabkov said Washington had not taken Moscow's warning seriously and added that Russia and the US were not holding any negotiation processes on Ukraine. Again, just so we're clear, Russia and the US aren't negotiating on Ukraine, but Russia and Ukraine are, okay? They've had several talks. Russian President Vladimir Putin sent Russian troops into Ukraine on February 24th to denazify the country. We know that. And we know about the sanctions. Yes, okay. So, Ukrainian President Zelensky has repeatedly called on Western powers to deliver more military aid to his country, warning that Russia's military will not stop at Ukraine's borders if Moscow seizes full control. That's not true, because Zelensky hasn't just called for military aid, he's called for a no-fly zone because he's a maniac. And he thinks that starting World War III is going to save Ukraine. Oh yeah, you will stop the Russian attack. You'll also stop the rest of the goddamn planet from existing if he's given a no-fly zone. The US and NATO have rejected Zelensky's repeated calls to implement a no-fly zone over Ukraine, but they are still shipping weapons into Ukraine at breakneck speed, including highly sensitive items such as shoulder-fired missiles called man-portable air defense system, man-pads, that can take down aircraft. The Western arms deliveries have been vital to enabling Ukrainians to fight invading Russian forces. The US Senate on Thursday approved hold on, that figure was so big, the whole thing scrolled up. $6.5 billion for military assistance to Ukraine. Whoa, wee wah. Whoa, wee wah. So you guys remember in January 2022, it was $200 million. Then it was $350 million. Look at that. Look at that behemoth. $6.5 billion. But you guys need to remember, you're not allowed to have health care. Fuck you if you want to go to college. You have a medical emergency, go bankrupt, and screw you. Gotta send weapons to some Nazis in Ukraine. Top priority. For the first time in its history, the EU is also delivering weapons. We know that. I covered it with you guys in Germany as well for the first time. Berlin, right? They would supply these anti-tank missiles. And so the Norwegian government also said it's donating 2,000 M72 anti-tank weapons. Aren't those things ancient? In any case, let's look at the map, because they're saying Russian ground forces are 25 kilometers, meaning 16 miles from the center of the Ukrainian capital. So again, I'm going to show you the map just so you can have an update. This is March 12th, day 17 of the Russian Operation Invasion. And you can see where the Russian troops are in red. That's not looking good. I got to tell you something, man. We keep hearing that the Russians are losing. That's not what a losing army looks like. When you're advancing in big arrows and taking territory, you're winning. You're not losing. And I mean, at the very least, the Russians are still where they are. They're if you want to be, you know, kind of conservative, you could say the Russians, they're not advancing that much, but they're in the same place. Well, obviously, no one's able to push them back. The Russians, if the forces from north of Crimea down here link up with the other army group up here, you would have a successful pincer movement, slicing Ukraine in two. You get what I mean? You would have the Russians coming from the north and coming from the south and linking up, and then you would have Ukraine split in two parts, with the capital surrounded. I mean, that would be one of the most successful military victories in modern history, easily. Again, I just tell you what Scott said the other day, who's a former Marine Corps, and he was in Desert Storm 1. You know, the Americans, it took them weeks and weeks and weeks to get through and take Iraq, and that was without opposition. The Iraqi army was non-existent, and they had carpet bombed the country. The Russians are not carpet bombing. They are encountering tough resistance, and they're still advancing. So I don't know why they keep saying on the news that the Russians are losing. It's just a lie. It's just, look at the map. It's not true. That's not what losing looks like. I don't know why they keep insisting on that, but okay. So in any case, in terms of weapons, let me just go back to what we were saying now, that the Russians are threatening that they will target the shipment of weapons. This is what I was telling you from the beginning, because you have the in the first week, they were handing out weapons in the streets to civilians. I mean, this is already like sending lambs to the slaughter, because these people, they're civilians. They don't have any training. And obviously, I understand at the same time, when you have an invasion or you have a foreign force in your country, whatever you call it, it's natural for the civilians to create a civil defense or a home guard, whatever you call it. It's normal. You've seen that in World War II. You've seen that in many conflicts. There's nothing unique about it. But just given the situation about weapons shipments, which is directed at military units, it's not there. The UK and US, they're not sending weapons to Starbucks cafes in Kiev. They're sending them to the National Guard, the Ukrainian National Guard. And so, yeah, I mean, Russia obviously, of course, they're going to consider that as a legitimate target. Let me give you a counter example. The Israelis, again, they bomb Syria almost every week, and they hit things like the port in Latakia. And why do they do that? Because, they say there are weapons being hidden in these containers, right? And turned out it was a bunch of Nescafe instant coffee, which, again, I showed it to you. But that's the logic, right? They say that that's a legitimate target. You're hiding weapons in here, and that we consider ourselves, under threat. And so they go and bomb Syria, and they get away with it, and no one cares. So how is that any different from the Russians saying, well, there are weapons in here in this container, and we're going to go bomb it? It's the same thing. I don't know why they report it in the media like it's some kind of like huge development. Do you know what it reminds me of? It's like this headline over here about Venezuela, right? I mean... I'm trying to find the headline, but basically, it was something like Maduro threatens to kill Americans if they invade Venezuela. It's like, yeah, every country would do that. What is so special about that? No shit. Of course he fucking would. What do you think the United States would do if Venezuelans invaded the U.S.? Like, why are you reporting this as if it's some kind of major... What? Yes, obviously. So that's the same kind of vibes that they're giving here, honestly. Like, it's just... Yeah, it's weapons shipments. Obviously, the Russians are going to bomb that. The Americans would bomb the Russian weapons, no? Every army would do that. I don't understand why we're discussing this. It's like a non-story, but it's important also to recognize another factor in here, because this is NATO. So you have to consider that NATO didn't take in Ukraine as a member, but they are treating Ukraine as a NATO partner, which is some sort of special status, right? And the risk in this is that it could be drawn out and then escalated to a bigger conflict. So Article 5 under NATO, you could use Article 5 to then join the entire alliance. Okay, so one person comes under attack, all the others have to come help them. And this is very risky, and this is why the Polish, they didn't want to give their airfields or jets to the Ukrainians, because if even if it's a Ukrainian flying the plane, if the plane is taking off from a Polish airfield, then Poland will be a target, and then Poland is a NATO member, and then you'll have the US and everybody else drawn in, and then it becomes a nuclear war, and it's the end of humanity. And so this is the issue here, because, you know, you could have, let's say, I don't know, a German truck, for example, a German train, whatever. It's delivering the weapons to the Ukrainians, and then the Russians bomb that because they say it's a legitimate target. There were weapons on board going to the enemy, and then you've just bombed a NATO country, or let's say something that belongs to a NATO country, whatever it is, could be an armored vehicle, whatever's delivering this stuff, and you see how easily this can escalate. That is the problem. But I really hope it doesn't come to that, because you know, even the US and NATO have had like the basic shred of common sense to say, no, we don't want a direct conflict, and we're not sending NATO troops, and we're not letting you use the well, I mean, the Polish said we're not letting you use our airfields, but then Blinken was insisting that they should. I don't know what the hell that was about. I guess he forgot about the danger of World War III. You know, that was a bit weird. But in any case, it's not happening. 3 days ago, Politico reported that the US is closing the door on sending fighter jets to Ukraine. Okay. US officials all but shut the door on arming Ukraine with fighter jets 1 day after the Pentagon rejected a Polish proposal that would have transferred MiG-29 aircraft to the Ukrainian government via an American airbase in Germany. The Americans have many bases in Germany. The country with the most U.S. troops in Europe is Germany. I think it's about 38,000 troops. Some people like to say that Germany is under U.S. occupation. Wouldn't be too far from the truth. But Lloyd Austin, the defense secretary, notified the Polish Minister of Defense that the U.S. would not support a transfer of jets to Ukraine. So, yeah. Do you see why this is a delicate situation? It's not just about using airfields. It's also about even just sending, using your own infrastructure to send heavy weaponry. Right now, it's like limited to Stingers. You know, it's limited to small arms, in quotation marks. But jets, you're entering a new level here. And Russia will view that escalation for what it is, right? As the opposite would be true if Russia was arming a U.S. enemy with jets. So it's a very, very delicate situation. It's very, very dangerous. And people need to chill. And I hope they find a diplomatic solution, because this is not really doing anyone any good. There was a donation from someone. Sorry, I didn't see that. Oh, okay, there we go. This is from Lebe Binou. Thank you very much. They say merci beaucoup for your work. De rien, ça fait plaisir. And Heinz says ZZVVZZ go to West. I don't know what that means, but okay. Are those the insignia, the decals on the Russian trucks and all that stuff? Here's the headline, by the way, that I wanted to show you. This is the headline from Breitbart about Maduro. So here's the headline. It says, Nicolás Maduro threatens to kill U.S. troops if they invade Venezuela. Okay. And what's so special about that? Why are you telling us this? Oh God, that's just hilarious, right? It's like, how dare you defend yourselves? How dare you? How dare you not, bend the knee and subordinate yourself to our rule? You goddamn heathens. It's like how they think, They really have a bizarre mentality about how the rest of the world should just bend over backwards for them. Levy says, is there any way I can do volunteer work to help you out? I would be honored. You're very kind. I appreciate the offer. Right now, as I said, I've started this new news outlet called In Context, and we need people who can write, who can speak. You know, people who like doing videos, whether it's a 2-minute video or a 10-minute video. We need people who are good at video editing, graphic design, animation. So again, I'm hiring people part-time, full-time. So if you're interested, let me know. My email, I'll put it in the chat right now. And of course, I didn't just mean to Levy, but to everyone else. But if I can think of something, I'll let you know. That's all I can think of for now. I'd be very grateful if someone wanted to do that. Anna says, please hire me. I emailed you. Okay, well, thank you. I will check them out. I warned you guys before I even mentioned this that I'm going to be slow to answer because there's so much to do. But give me a few days and I'll get back to you guys. I appreciate you messaging me because a lot of you did actually. And I just need some time to go through them. So thank you, Anas. I appreciate it. Doran in the comments says, Blinken is not even human. Dandra says, Iran just bombed U.S. embassy. I know, I just covered it twice. It's not really an embassy. It's a consulate, but okay, fair enough. And my point was that it's we don't know if it was really Iran. And they bomb that thing all the time. It's not checked. It's not confirmed yet that it was that Iran is actually behind it. You could say indirectly through the PMU, maybe, but let's calm down and wait what happens and see what happens. Kashkashi, I see your comment. Thank you. Gabo says, I love that YouTube channel already. Y'all subscribe to In Context. See? I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you very much. Gabo is talking about my news outlet, which I started. Again, I'm going to show it to you guys. It's called In Context. In Context. And there's a YouTube channel. There's a Twitter. And look, I'm going to show you what it's like. You know that racist news host that was talking about, Ukraine is civilized. I posted that video, for example,
now
here.
With the Russians marching in.
On the channel. Let me just show you the thing over here. Right, so In Context, we're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Not bad, right? Almost at 1,000 subscribers. So again, we're posting news all the time. So you always stay up to date because, you know, I can't stream every second, although I do stream every day. But you'll find all sorts of clips. And the thing is, I don't want to just post news clips, obviously. The thing is, I want people to speak in front of the camera and do like short political videos. And we add animations to them and make them very nice. But I don't want it to be just me. Obviously, I know how to do this, but I don't want it to just be me. I want others to partake. So if you're good at speaking, you're good at public speaking, you know how to write, let me know. Show me what you can do. Just send me an email, rmedhurst@protonmail.com. All you guys are saying that you've just subscribed. I love that. That's really good. Thank you very much. Here's the link. In case you want to subscribe, go ahead. And I'll give you the Twitter as well. Here's the Twitter. We got 3,000 followers on Twitter. Not bad for the first few weeks, right? Not bad at all. So I'm glad that's going well, and I'm happy to see you guys subscribing. And I'll send you the Facebook as well. Everything is there. Thank you, Matthew, for subscribing. Thank you, Osama. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Ashley. See, you guys are the best. That's amazing. Mads Mike says, are you blowing up? Just found you yesterday. I don't know, man. I've been famous for quite a while. You know? Well, I'm glad you found the channel. How did you find it? On Twitter or YouTube recommended it? In any case, thanks for subscribing and being here. I appreciate it. Thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Robbie. You guys just subscribed to In Context. Tarek says he just subscribed. Valerie. Save Sheikh Jarrah just subscribed. Thank you, Shadow Dissector. You're very kind. And Knupuk says, Richard, go boom. Thank you, Dehul. I hope I said your name correctly. Oh, Justy Burger says, I just found you as well. You came up on my YouTube feed. Nice. Did you search for something or YouTube recommended it in the sidebar? That's really great. I'm glad to see that. Monica says, talk about Syrians fighting for Russia. I did just yesterday. We did a 7-hour stream. Was it 7 hours? It was 4 hours. The day before was 7, and the day before that was 8. But yeah, it's already up here. It's on the channel. You can go watch it. I already talked extensively about that, and I just talked about it again now. Basically, they're volunteers. They're not mercenaries, and it's not just Syrians. And that's the key difference, because they want you to think that Russia is paying these people to come. They're not fucking paying them. Especially in you think Russia has money right now to spend on mercenaries after what just happened? Man, the ones being paid, that's Al-Qaeda. The people being paid, the mercenaries, are fighting on NATO's side. That's a fact. Don't kid yourself. Don't sit there and act like, they didn't do that in Afghanistan. They didn't recruit foreign fighters and pay them salaries. Don't act like they didn't do that in Syria when they brought foreign fighters again. Come on, you know better than this. Thank you, Mystical Mode. You're very kind. Barbara says, I just subscribed. Wonderful. You guys are very kind and very fast. We have... Whoa, we got 150 people who just subscribed like that. Look at this. We're almost at 1,000. Isn't that incredible? Almost at 1,000 subscribers. Yellow, we can do it, guys. Yuri says it's Scott Ritter who brought me on your channel. Yeah, that's great. I'm happy to hear that, because I didn't post it. We went live when I did that interview, and it went viral, which is great. Alhamdulillah. And then people started reposting the interview, but dude, I've seen people repost it. They don't even put my name or a link to the channel. Like, okay, forget the link. Just put my name, man. Like, come on, show some respect. I don't care if you upload it. Just put my damn name at least, Anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't. That's a good problem to have, as they say. The thing with Russia, when Russia is asking, well, it's not really asking. It's saying, if you want, we'll help you. It's not demanding or explicitly going out to recruit people. But Russia's saying, if you want to come and fight, you're gonna be fighting just like you were in Syria, against terrorists, in this case Al-Qaeda again, and neo-Nazis again. Think about how funny that is, in a way, because you're gonna have these people from Idlib, from northern Syria, these terrorists, who are fighting against the Syrian Arab army and the Russians, and then these same groups are going to meet now in Ukraine. The world is crazy. The world is really crazy. It's good to see Mona. Mona is in the house. How are you doing, Mona? I'm really happy to see you. You got the wrench, I see. You're still a mod. So that's very good. That's very good. Look, Mona, I was just telling people I launched a news outlet. Look at that, 917 subscribers. We're almost at 1,000. We're almost at 1,000. That's great. Not bad. Thank you, Clara. You're very kind. So, this fight between the mercenaries, the Al-Qaeda mercenaries, the guns for hire that were paid by Saudi Arabia, by Qatar, by Turkey, by Israel, by the United Kingdom, by the United States. I don't know why I counted like this and went here and back here. They were hired to do a job, and the job was overthrow the Syrian government, and they obviously failed. They those countries should get a refund. But in any case, Russia came into Syria, changed the tide of the war. Honestly, let's be realistic. The Syrian army, all by itself, it was going to lose. Because how can you win against this onslaught? You got a dozen countries trying to like run you over with God knows how many foreign fighters. No one could just survive that. And despite that, they failed in the regime change project. But you still have about 20 to 30,000 fighters. I'll show you the map. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but then I remember there's like 20,000 of you who just subscribed, so you probably haven't heard any of this before. So it's very well worth repeating. I really need to drink water. You guys are gonna have to let me go on a break in a second. Please, master, just a sip of water, I beg. So this is Idlib. Idlib is it's not just a city, it's a governorate. In Syria, we have governorates. It's like, it's like a state in the US or a province. You got several governorates, and Idlib is one of them. And it's in northern Syria, right on the border with Turkey. Okay. And so this whole area here, this is occupied by Turkey and the moderate rebels, whatever the fuck that means. Let me give you an example. When you see Ukraine and the nice lady on the news is sitting there with her little papers and telling you that, oh, the Ukrainians, they're receiving weapons and it's going to brave soldiers who are fighting the pesky Russians. Okay, great. Do you care to elaborate who those, recipients are of these weapons? And you notice how they never tell you about the Nazis? They never mention that anywhere ever. They used to in documentaries like 2-3 years ago, but right now, I'm talking about right now, they never mention that because they're lying by omission. So by leaving this out, they're lying to you about the makeup of the Ukrainian Guard. And so just imagine how bad that was in Syria. In Syria, it's way worse. And it went on for way longer, and it's a way bigger problem, but it's the same principle. And so here you have these so-called moderates over here. And that's just complete verbal diarrhea. That's just not true. I'm actually going to go and show you the live map. And I know you guys complained about this the other day. Actually, you complained after I complained. So we were both very well aware that this is a biased map. Look at this map. This is a biased map. Can someone tell me why this map is garbage? Answer in the comments. I'm showing you a map right now. Why is this map garbage? Just answer. Tell me why. I'm waiting. I'm looking at the comments. Hey, you almost got it. You guys are saying it's the colors. Mike Rouch got the answer. There's no key. There's no legend. A map that is color coded and doesn't have a legend. Just take that shit, crumple it up, and throw it away because it's fucking useless. A map without a legend is garbage. So I was here like this, and now I clicked on the key. Now you can see the key, and you can see what these colors mean. Always remember that, okay? So well done, Mike. But also, your other guys were saying it's psychological perception of colors. Absolutely right. That's another reason, because like the red color, red every color has a psychological meaning, right? I think red is like dangerous, it's alert. Blue and green, these are kind of like more calming colors. And so, the fact that they always paint like the Syrian government in red, like it's bad, it's dangerous, it's dire. I mean, that kind of says it. It kind of says it all. But in any case, look at the legend also. They're like, they're saying here, for example, in the green area over here, that's what I was talking about, that you have in Idlib, you have all of these moderate rebels here. There's Idlib. And that's the same thing with what's happening in Ukraine. They tell you, oh, they're just moderates. They're no neo-Nazis. That's just like 1%. And they said the same thing in Syria. They said, yeah, there are extremists, but it's just like 1%. And then it turns out that you have these groups that are fighting for power amongst themselves, like these terrorist groups and rebels. And then, like, who came out on top? It's like gang warfare, like, leave the state aside for a second. Just the gangs themselves, amongst themselves, they fight over territory, whether it's drugs or anything else. And they end up killing themselves, and one of them comes out on top and then takes the other's territory, right? So that's what happened. And who came out on top? It wasn't no moderates, I can tell you that. It was Al-Qaeda and their affiliates. And they rebranded, of course. And so they changed the name from Al-Qaeda to Jabhat al-Nusra, which means Al-Nusra Front. And then they changed it from Jabhat al-Nusra to Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is HTS. And that's what we're left with now. You can see here also the difference in the color, because here they say, oh, these are rebel forces. It's a lighter green. And then the darker green, where Idlib is the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. ex al-Nusra, meaning Al-Qaeda. This is what it means. And they say here, this is the moderates, and it's with Turkey and all this stuff. Okay, so how come every time they find all of these Al-Qaeda leaders or ISIS leaders, why are they always with the moderates? Why are they always hiding out in moderate Idlib? That's a bit peculiar, right? Because it's like if you tell me, for example, Zelensky and Putin are enemies, and then it turns out Zelensky's hiding in Moscow, I'm gonna look at you like, what? You get the idea? You tell me they don't agree with each other, they have completely different ideologies, they're not the same, they shouldn't confuse the two, and then it turns out that they're in the same area. What conclusion does that lead me to? It leads me to the conclusion that you're full of shit. And it's on multiple times. So both times when they killed the ISIS leader, turns out he was hiding with the moderates. Weird, right? What a coincidence. Anyway, this is a similar situation. So you had all these green buses over here that the Syrian government used. They would basically take all the jihadists that lost and they would put them in buses. I honestly don't even know who came up with this idea. Like, I really want to know. I really want to know who came up with this idea and why are the buses green? They use this like typically old Syrian buses, right? Here, let me show you. Yeah, so the Syrian government would win a battle, for example, and then they would put all of these all of the guys who lost, the jihadists and so on, and put them in these green buses and ship them off to Idlib. So my point here is, if you go back to the map and you look at northern Syria in this area, you have about 20,000, somewhere between 20 to 30,000 of these terrorists. They have, it's not like, oh, they're hiding there. No, they're in control. They run the place. They have their own jails. They have their own like government. It's like they're trying to set up. It's like the ISIS. They tried to set up their own caliphate and legitimize it. This is no more legitimate than that bullshit. And it's just a question of time before, either Turkey swallows it. I think Turkey would definitely like to take a chunk out of Syria, or Syria gets it back. But there's going to come a point where this battle, there's going to be a battle here. I obviously hope there isn't one. I would rather everything be solved diplomatically because that suits everybody. But unfortunately, these terrorists, they don't show any signs of wanting to go. Now, here's something else that's quite concerning. Look at these black patches. When I showed you this map a few days ago, they weren't there. You see these black circles over here in the middle of Syria? That's ISIS, okay? And at one point, this half the map, like all of this, half of Syria was black under ISIS control. Absolutely terrifying. And I thought, wow, Syria's screwed. Really. And thankfully, they got rid of ISIS, but you see ISIS is popping back up now. And you see where it's near Palmyra. So Palmyra has an airport. No shit. ما عرفت إنه في مطار بتدمر. Wow. In any case, Palmyra is an ancient city, and it's in the desert. I've been there once. I like it. It's very special. It's thousands of years old, and there are many ruins there. And ISIS destroyed it. Unfortunately, they destroyed the gate. They blew it up, and then they went into the museum, which I've also been in, and they killed the director, and they smashed all the statues. Just the most ignorant pig shit behavior that you can possibly imagine. So in any case, I think this is a military airport that I was pointing to, but that's not my point. My point is that these patches of ISIS have been popping up because lately you've been seeing a lot of people being killed near Palmyra. I'll show you one example, which was just from 2 weeks ago, I think. There were some Syrian soldiers. Oh goodness. The archaeologist, which I just told you about, they found his body a year ago. I'm so sorry. But just going back to my point, you can see this story from March 6th, 2022. 13 Syrian soldiers killed, 18 injured in attack in Palmyra. So you're seeing this area over here where ISIS is starting to pop up again. And that's not good. That's really, really not good. And there are more stories like this, you know. A few months ago, there was another attack near Palmyra, and people killed there. So that's not good at all. So let me guys show you, let's see if there's any updates in Ukraine. Right now, it's just, there's a lot of talk about Mariupol. I don't think I can show these pictures because YouTube will probably flag it. But I'll just give you a brief update on Mariupol and what's happening there. Hold on, let me switch over here. So this is from Al Jazeera, live updates. They're warning of a humanitarian catastrophe. And they say the humanitarian situation in Mariupol continues to deteriorate, with the UN citing reports of looting and violent confrontations over resources and satellite pictures showing extensive damage. Some 13,000 Ukrainians evacuated from cities on Saturday, but no one managed to leave Mariupol. Fighting intensified northwest of Kiev. We looked at that before. And again, the US said it would rush up to 200 million in additional small arms to Ukraine. Looked like a lot more just a moment ago, didn't it? But I want to say something, and again, I don't know how bad the censorship is here. It's obviously bad enough that I have to wonder if I can even speak. But there are people who've been trying to leave, civilians, and it's not the Russians stopping them. It's someone else. Who do you think would be twisted enough to do that? To stop people from leaving? And killing them even. They're killing the civilians who are trying to leave. Let me show you one thing over here. I'm just going to pull this up from... This was a tweet from Pepe. Take a look at this. So he posted this just the other day. Again, I interviewed Pepe. The interview was lovely. Go watch it. It's on the channel. Here, he posted this saying, Mariupol residents were ready to leave. Neo-Nazis blocked their way. Humanitarian corridor postponed. So these neo-Nazis that are that don't exist, apparently, according to many of Russia's detractors, I've seen, this is just one picture. I've seen videos that I'm not even sure I can describe them to you because they're so graphic, and then YouTube will flag the video or something. I've seen really, really disgusting, horrible videos of things like that. That was really, really heartbreaking. And I've seen many reports like this where they're saying that the neo-Nazis are not letting people leave. Now, I don't want to say that Russia isn't doing anything bad, because I don't agree with this war. I don't think war is good. But I just want to say one thing, because in Syria, the Russians, who again were helping the Syrian government, they tried many times to do humanitarian corridors, which for those of you who don't know what that means, basically means when they're about to attack a city, to make sure that there are less or no civilian casualties, they create a corridor for people to leave. And that was a tool that they used in Syria to minimize civilian casualties. And that's something that they're trying to do here. And so I think, because they did this in Syria as well, I think what they're trying to do, these neo-Nazis, they want civilians to stay so they can use them as tokens. So when they're killed, you know, because they weren't allowed to leave, they can say, oh, you see what the Russians did? And it's really disgusting, but they did this in Syria. We saw this in Syria, how they were using the white helmets, and the opposition were using dead people, dead Syrians, as props to say, look, it was a chemical gas attack. There was no chemical gas attack. They were just using them to further their agenda. And it's very disgusting. And I just want to say I wouldn't be surprised if they're doing the same thing. And as these reports are suggesting that they're forcing civilians to stay, because who else would do that? You know? Al-Qaeda, Nazis, that's who would do that. That's really disgusting. And again, it doesn't mean Russia is not doing anything wrong, but you cannot just forget that these are real tactics that are being used in the disinformation war, and it's really sick. They use them as shields, basically, you know. Hitagara, I see your comment, but I'm afraid I cannot elaborate further because YouTube, as I showed you, YouTube is now censoring people who minimize, whatever that means, things that are well documented. So basically, Big Brother is telling me and others who work in politics to shut the fuck up and accept the official narrative, otherwise we'll be punished. So I don't know what to do. Do you see the pickle that we're in? For those of you who are not aware what I'm talking about, yesterday YouTube posted a thread on Twitter. They announced new policies, which I'll show to you just a moment. And I really need to get some water, but I'll show you this first and then I'll come back. Just give me a second. So they posted this yesterday on Twitter, this announcement that they're changing their policy, their content policy on YouTube, right? So here we go. Can you guys see that? So this is from YouTube. They said, our community guidelines prohibit content denying, minimizing, or trivializing well-documented violent events. We are now removing content about Russia's invasion in Ukraine that violates this policy. So that's separate. That is separate from what they're saying underneath. Okay, pay attention, because underneath they say, in line with that, we're also now blocking access to YouTube channels associated with Russian-funded media globally, expanding from across Europe. Right? So underneath this one, they're saying we're going to ban not just RT in Europe because, you know, the EU forced us. No, we are going to ban RT globally, you know, of our own accord. Just because we want to. And so just going back to the first tweet, to my point, do you see how they're saying we're going to prohibit content denying, minimizing, or trivializing well-documented violent events? What does that mean exactly? If, like, for example, if you're a Holocaust denier, fine, I get that. That's a well-documented violent fact, and it's considered hate speech in many countries. In Germany and Austria, you go to prison for that. So I understand that YouTube in those vicinities, jurisdictions, would be forced to remove that because it's illegal. It has a legal obligation to do that. Of course, that's a well-established fact. No one's talking about that. But they're announcing this now, and they're talking about things that are happening in Ukraine. So my point is, what is well documented today may turn out to be bullshit tomorrow. It's like the Ghost of Kiev story, you know, or the Snake Island story. It all turned out to be fake, right? So there are other things that are happening, which I don't even know if I'm allowed to utter. Just to ask a question. I'm not even giving an opinion or an assertion. I'm just asking a question. I'm not even sure I can do that because of this stuff. Do you see the problem here? How this is effectively a muzzle. It is a muzzle, isn't it? So I don't know what to tell you. The Crazy Puppet, thank you for your donation. Crazy Puppet says they can send contingency force to Syria. The status of special military operation. Russia is limiting their total force involvement in Ukraine. No changes to such position is required at this time. That's from Putin. That's a latest announcement. So let me just look that up, but I just want to read Ashley's comment. Ashley said it's disgusting how America preaches speech freedom, media freedom, and then they do all of this. Absolutely, and it's not just America; it's the EU and so on, right? It's a joke, isn't it? It's like they're making a mockery of those things. Liberals believe in free speech as long as you're using it to do what they want you to do, right? So guys, Tony is saying get out of YouTube to other channels. Well, again, I'm gonna tell you guys, I made a channel on Odyssey because you told me. I've never used this before, but I went and made one anyway. Oh, nice. You guys, already 75 of you subscribed. That's kind. So this is Odyssey. I'll paste the link below. And I'm also on Rockfin, which is also like YouTube. No censorship. We got 17,000 followers on there. Not bad. Let's pump those numbers up, guys. So I'm on Odyssey, I'm on Rockfin, and Telegram. Is it true you can live stream on Telegram? Let me look if we can do it. Let's try it right now, shall we? I'm gonna go into Telegram, and I saw a live stream button. Let's see if we can do that. Broadcast. Hold on. How do we do this? I could have sworn I saw something on here. Where is it, guys? Where is it? Oh, live stream. I found it. Start live stream. Okay. The people on Telegram who are not tuned into the live stream are going to be really shocked. What some of you saying is go drink water. Okay, fine. Give me a moment. I'll go drink water in a second. Oh, several of you just signed up on Patreon. Thank you very much to Tina and Ramsey. And I appreciate it, you supporting my work. I'll play a crab dance and I'll go get some water. So just give me a moment and we'll continue. Don't go anywhere, guys.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch out.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انت كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Again, thank you for supporting my work. If you want to donate $1 a month, $2 a month, I don't care. I'm grateful for anything. And how many are we right now on Patreon? Something absurd. 615. Honestly, we got 1,500 people watching now. I wouldn't be surprised if we could hit the goal because you guys are that generous. So the next goal is 650, and we're now at 615. So you do the math. In any case, we keep smashing goal after goal because you guys are so great. I appreciate all of your support. You guys have obliged me to go drink water. So just give me 1 second. I'm going to go get some water. And Claudia helped me to create a video that I can play. We call the break video. So I'm just going to leave that on. Don't go anywhere. You guys go get something to drink as well. We'll be back in just a minute, okay? So we'll continue afterwards. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to put the break video on.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
A is for
All men and women created by go. You know the thing.
B is for
I'm beginning to see why your wife left you.
C is for
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
D is for
Don't worry, I'm so serious. Children, I love to hear them.
E is for
Excuse to walk by the dealer and say, no, I'm not going to be a mule. I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom.
F is for
Time friend, and she's a friend. She's been my friend in and out of public life.
G is for
Go to Joe 30330.
H is for
Hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
I is for
I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate.
J is for
Just look at the record.
I have President Biden, Vice President Biden.
Well, I tell you what, if you look at my record and you still doubt about my commitment, then you should vote for somebody else.
K is for
Kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
L is for
The lion, dog, face, pony soldier.
M is for
Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone. Make sure the kids hear words.
N is for
NATO.
O is for
The only African American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate.
P is for
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
R is for
Rest her soul, and although she's your mom's still alive.
S is for
Send a text to the word united.
T is for
Truth over facts.
U is for
Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future.
V is for
Don't vote for somebody else.
All right, thanks so much.
W is for
Wait, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay.
X is for
Xi Jinping.
Y is for
And you ain't black.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
A is for
All men and women created by you know the thing.
B is for
I'm beginning to see why your wife left you.
C is for
Corn Pop.
All right. We're back. We're back, guys. Okay, great. Wonderful. So, let me show you some bullshit that just happened yesterday on Twitter. Someone got censored for speaking the truth. Of course, that's what happens in this environment. This is the climate that we're in. I mean, just preposterous, absolutely preposterous. But I have to show you this. I still don't know if they're back, but give me a moment just to show what's going on. I'm pulling up the documents for you. Okay. So, again, thank you if you just tuned in. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. This is the spot for international news. And if you've just connected, make sure you hit the like button as well. Asa Winstanley, he got locked out of his Twitter account for just tweeting the truth, right? For saying what the mainstream media won't say, which is that you have neo-Nazis who make up a significant, if not very influential, chunk of the Ukrainian armed forces. So here's a tweet from Jonathan.
I am once again.
God, I'm sorry, I switched to the wrong window. Here's a tweet from Jonathan Cook. He says, Twitter has locked Asa Winstanley out of his account and demanded he delete a purely factual tweet or risk suspension. Please read and protest. Our ability to stay informed is already vanishingly small. So here's the article. He posted this on a Substack. It says, Twitter is censoring reporting on Ukrainian Nazis on the pretext of abusive behavior. So this is the post. All Asa did is tell you exactly what I told you just a few moments ago and yesterday. That the photos being posted by the Foreign Ministry of Ukraine, the photo being posted by NATO, they deleted the tweet, show Ukrainian armed forces wearing Nazi insignia. Right? So you often see the Wolfsangel, which is another symbol. In this case, it's the Schwarze Sonne, which is the black sun. And I showed you these photos earlier. Look, it's the Nazi Olsen twins. See? The Nazi Olsen twins down here. And what's that symbol? That's a black sun. And over here, so this one is by NATO. And then they deleted the tweet because the woman in here also has a black sun on her chest. And again, it's women because it was for International Women's Day. So, yeah, what better way to celebrate International Women's Day than posting a few Nazi glamour girls, you know? So they've told him that he has to delete the tweet. This is the notification they've given him. And he said in his tweet, quote, the Nazi symbol, the black sun, pops up a lot in lots of troop photos from Ukraine. Even NATO posted one. Neo-Nazi terrorist Brenton Tarrant wore the black sun on the bulletproof vest he used to help him murder 51 Muslims in New Zealand in 2019, as well as in his manifesto. They say by clicking delete, you acknowledge that your tweet violated the Twitter rules. And that's it, right? So they're saying that the tweet is quote-unquote abusive. And Asa goes on to state in his article, as you can see, this post is entirely factual, accurate, and sourced, and not at all abusive. I obtained the photos either from mainstream reporting, and if you click that link, you'll find the Wall Street Journal. And then he goes on to say, or from primary sources, meaning NATO's official Twitter account, Tarrant's manifesto, which is available online, and even Ukraine's foreign ministry itself. This is the tweet. I've shown it to you myself. There it is. It's still up there. NATO deleted their tweet, but this one is still up there. And here's underneath the NATO tweet, which is now gone. You can see there is a black sun. So Asa continues, yet Twitter's automated systems have apparently deemed the tweet in violation of their rules, although they did not initially specify which rule and have still not explained how the post violates their rules on abuse. Twitter's rules appear not to apply to NATO or the Ukrainian Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The post has been hidden by Twitter and replaced with the above notice. It just says that, quote, this tweet violated the Twitter rules. Asa continues, my Twitter account, which almost has 60,000 followers, is currently still viewable, but I can no longer post new tweets. Indeed, I've been locked out of even viewing anything on Twitter, and every time I sign in, I get the notice at the top of this post demanding I delete the tweet and acknowledge it was being in violation of their rules. He appealed, and he received a second email that says that his account will be limited. So the appeal was not, didn't get him anywhere. And they're still claiming abusive behavior. Asa continues, unfortunately, this censorious lack of transparency is a growing problem with Twitter in recent years. One of the unaccountable Silicon Valley monopolies which dominate and control what are in effect de facto public spaces. According to China podcaster Carl Jha, researcher and analyst Brian Berletic has had his Twitter account suspended altogether after posting another image of a Ukrainian soldier wearing the Nazi black sun symbol on his uniform. So Asa is asking that you share this article and tag people on Twitter, at Twitter Safety and at Twitter Comms to reverse this censorship. He said, I would prefer not to be forced into the position of clicking delete on that tweet, which Twitter claims would constitute an acknowledgement that your tweet violated the Twitter rules. As far as I can see, it did not. So, again, this is part of the absurd, maddening censorship that's currently happening all over social media. And it's not even just about Twitter, right? It's even, I showed you on Instagram and Facebook. They're saying that you can. This is according to Reuters, exclusive from Reuters. So on Facebook and Instagram, which are the same company basically, you can call for the death of Russians. Right? Facebook allows war posts urging violence against Russians. And not just that, if you scroll down, They also say that emails also show that Meta, meaning Facebook, would allow praise of the right-wing Azov battalion, this neo-Nazi battalion. So, you know, you can praise Nazis, you can post pictures of neo-Nazis, but you can't point out that they're Nazis. The emperor has no clothes, right? They don't want people finding out what's going on. This is, again, part of the propaganda effort. And it's like, you know, we're in the phase of mass hysteria right now. People don't want to hear the truth because they're highly emotional. They're not thinking. And it's one thing to be upset about Ukraine and Ukraine's civilian population. Absolutely, it's important to have sympathy and empathy because they're civilians. They've done absolutely nothing, have nothing to do with this. But when we're talking about who is in the Ukrainian National Guard, and we see that there are neo-Nazis, we cannot just, you know, bury our heads in the sand and act like we didn't see that. This is a very, very problematic thing. Even NATO is implicitly acknowledging that there are Nazis because it shamelessly, you know, deleted the tweet afterwards after posting a picture of a woman with a black sun, a Schwarzes, a Nazi symbol on her chest plate. And then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Ukraine posting a picture of the Nazi Olsen twins with the same symbol. And then getting banned over that just for pointing this out, you know, having your account locked on Twitter just for pointing this out. This is really insane. It's like when the war in Syria was starting and, you know, if you question the narrative and you said, well, no, that wasn't a chemical attack. No, those are not moderate rebels. They're Al-Qaeda. You know, oh my God, you're an Assad apologist. You're an Assadist. You're a tanky. And then with Iraq and the war on terror in Afghanistan, it's the same thing. You couldn't question it because then you're a terrorist sympathizer. You're an Al-Qaeda sympathizer. You're a Saddam apologist. And so we're in that phase right now where people have their heads stuck so far up their fucking asses that they can't even think straight. And they're trying to rehabilitate fucking Nazis. And they're saying Hitler wasn't that bad. And Putin is worse. Have you gone batshit crazy? Is this really like the point that you've... I mean, how low do you stoop? How low do you stoop? Every single day, they're basically just proving right that there is a fucking Nazi problem in Ukraine. Again, not everyone, we're not talking about the majority, but there is one issue about Nazism in Ukraine. And they're trying to bury that on purpose so no one can question the official narrative of the war. They just want to rally support. They want public support behind the NATO narrative. And anyone who diverges from that, anyone who questions it, they want to shut you down and shut you up. Man, this is sickening. It's not just about RT, you know, because when it's RT, they say, oh, it's state-backed media. When it's Alex Jones, oh, he's a right-wing crackpot. And here, what did Asa do? You also going to come here and say he's a right-wing crackpot and he's a Kremlin mouthpiece? Get the hell out of here. They're doing this to people all across the board, and we're living in very, very, you know, precarious times. This is really, really shady. This is exactly why, because of this climate that we're in, that I tell you, don't just stay on YouTube. Please, for the love of God, go subscribe on Rockfin. It's free. Or on Telegram, it's free. Or on Odyssey, it's free. Make sure there's an alternative. There's even the newsletter. Just put your email in there. That's it. So we have a backup. We need contingency because this is really serious. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. I keep showing you examples every single day of how they're tightening the noose. They're closing in on any sort of dissent. It's not even like anything you could remotely describe as pro-Russia. It's just, hey, what is that Nazi shit over there? And they're like, what? Banned. You know? What times are we living in? What times are we living in? That pointing out, calling out neo-Nazis is a punishable offense now on social media and public spaces. What are these crazy times? I'm just astonished. I'm astonished. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised. Again, I was just reading to you from Asa's Substack. You should go check out. There it is. And again, you guys asked me, so I made a channel on Odyssey. I'm on Rockfin. I'm on Telegram. If you go on Rockfin, you won't just find me. You'll find a lot of your favorite lefties on there already. So it's not just about me. It's truly an alternative platform because you're going to find almost everyone that you already watch is there. So I think that's really great. And I'll obviously be making more alternatives. I think, but in any case, all the links will be down below in the description in the chat. I was trying to make one on Rumble. You guys keep telling me about Rumble, and I tried to do it, and it says, I don't know, one of you guys yesterday in the chat, you were saying that you like, someone was posting the videos, some of my videos on Rumble under my name, which, I mean, thank you, but you know, I didn't give permission to do that, and the problem now is that I went to go on to make a Rumble channel like you guys asked me, and I can't because the username is gone. So that really sucks. So, in any case. Another thing that I would tell you is that there are a lot of people who worked at RT who've had all of their videos deleted now. Abby Martin, for example, she's had, I think, about 500 videos deleted now all of a sudden. You know? There are other people who've spent years working at RT. All their videos are gone. You know, this is really... That's heartbreaking. You know, censorship aside, just you've put in so much energy and time into that, and just to see it gone like that, that's really, really nasty. That's a nasty blow. That's really just nasty. Again, I'm trying to show you over here. This, for example, you can see here this post on Twitter. What do they say here? They say here, all 550 episodes of Abby Martin's legendary show Breaking the Set have just been deleted by YouTube. See? That's really messed up. And she's not alone, obviously. Many other people, you know, Chris Hedges, George Galloway. Although I think George Galloway is not RT America, right? So... but still, I mean, it doesn't matter because they banned RT everywhere now, even in Latin America, in places where they didn't have to. They just did it out of spite. So, yeah. Lee Camp is another one, obviously, that goes without saying. He had a big show on RT. That's also gone now. And I don't know, man. I feel like if you're going to set an example for the world and you're going to come and say, well, you know, the way we do things is better. We have freedom of speech. Our values are so superior that we have to come and bomb you into submission. Like, that's the only way you can convince people of it. And then it turns out you actually don't have those values. Well, man, you're you know, pretty much a hypocrite, aren't you? A supreme hypocrite. That's not cool. You can't talk about free speech and tolerating dissent and you know, political freedom when you shut down and target opposing and dissenting views in your own country, whether it's in the EU, you know, whether it's in a European country like the UK, or whether it's in the US. Liberals, they always preach these values, but they don't abide by them. Actually, it's the opposite. They're authoritarians. Yeah. So basically, you know, Chris Hedges, Abby Martin, Lee Camp having shows on RT where they criticize the US government, that's state media. But the White House recruiting people on TikTok and using them to disseminate propaganda, you know, outsourcing their propaganda, that's not state media. That's not a manipulation of social media. Come on. At least be consistent. If you're going to be wrong, at least be consistent with the with your censorship. You know, if it's really about censoring state media, then why just targeting the Russian one? You know, obviously, I'm not saying you should target, you just go wild banning people, but it shows you that they're not interested in even being consistent with that. It's just about purposely targeting anything Russian and so on. You guys are very kind. We have 618 of you on on Patreon now. Thank you very much, Dennis or Denis. And thank you very much, Carissa and Adriana. Thank you guys very much for supporting my work. I'm going to play a crab dance just for you, and then we'll continue. Guys, show them some love in the comments.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome, which is a technical marvel.
والله انتوا كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
Why you texting? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I know the crab dance was all lively, and then it switched, it cut to me, and I'm like... I was just reading something. I'm going to show you guys something special. I want to ask you your opinion about my setup. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much. I'm looking to change something. Thank you very much. I know the crab dance was all lively, and then it switched, it cut to me, and I'm like... ask you guys. But anyway, look, just going back to Telegram. I was just reading something. I'm going to show you guys something special. I want to ask you your opinion about my setup. Guys. Thank you very much. I'm looking to change something. Thank you very much. I know the crab dance was all lively, and then it switched, cut to me, and I'm like... ask you guys. But anyway, look, just going back to Telegram. Just reading something. I'm going to show you guys something special. I want to ask you your opinion about my setup. I'm live streaming at the same time now. I know the crowd dance was all live, and then it switched on Telegram. Ask you guys. But anyway, look, I see a bunch of people listening. Are you guys listening both on Telegram and YouTube? You might be hearing me on double. I'm live streaming at the same time now. That is hilarious. You basically, I can control who speaks. That's interesting. I see a bunch of people listening. Are you guys in any case both on Telegram and YouTube? I see you can do video. I didn't know that you could do that. Live streaming at the same time now. In any case, that is hilarious. You basically, I can control who speaks. That's interesting. I see a bunch of people listening. Are you guys? I told you guys there would be an echo. All right. I warned you there was going to be an echo. But anyway, it's okay. I know it's gone now. I was just messing around with the phone. So let me show you this tweet over here. This is from what we were talking about with RT. Take a look. As I was telling you, they've shut down Lee Camp, Abby Martin. Everything they've done, gone. I know some of you say that you can still see it, but let me show you what YouTube looks like for me. What RT looks like. I think that was the channel. Is it like that? Yeah, that's what I get. This channel is not available in your country. Wow. Very nice, right? Very nice. And then, of course, if you try going on Twitter, this is what it looks like for me, okay? Actually, first of all, it doesn't even show up in the results, so you have to type it in manually in the URL bar. So look now. That's what it looks like. Wonderful, right? Yep. That's Joe Biden, the lesser of two evils, right? I mean, it's not just him, obviously. It's the EU. They're also just neoliberal bastards. But that's the situation we're in. It really sucks. It really sucks. It's a shame. Because it's not just, they don't stop here. They just keep going, of course. I wanted to show you guys something. Give me a second. I'm going to play you 2 videos in a moment. It's cooking. Do you guys want to take a look at something? Take a look at something interesting. All right, let me play you this clip. This is going to be fun. This is from the State Department. Ned Price, the spokesperson. He got something funny for us, which you're going to enjoy. Okay. So let me play you this clip of Ned Price, the State Department spokesperson. Let's take a look at what he has to say.
Here's unqualified support for the Ukrainian to resist this Russian invasion and so on, and for any occupied people to resist their occupied. Did that extend to other places, like for the Palestinians and maybe the Iraqis and other places? Do they have the right to resist a military occupation?
Saeed's self-defense is a principle that belongs to all countries.
Right, and so it does belong to people who are under military occupation.
It belongs to all countries.
Including the Palestinians, right?
All countries have the right to self-defense.
Yes. God, he's such a robot. He's such a robot. Do you know what he was doing there? I know what game he's playing, because these people who work in the government, a lot of them are lawyers, right? Just to give you an idea, in the Democratic primary, every single person who was running in 2020 was a lawyer except Bernie Sanders. Biden is a lawyer. I'm not sure about Ned Price. Wouldn't be surprised if he's a lawyer. But in any case, they speak like lawyers. And his point was every country has the right to self-defense. So you know what he's saying? He's not talking about Palestine, because they don't view Palestine as a country, because it doesn't have, it's not a full UN member state. So that's the game that he's playing, right? But the Iraq one, I mean, he seemed really angry about that.
And maybe the Iraqis and other places. Do they have the right to resist a military occupation?
Saeed's self-defense is a principle that belongs to all countries.
Right, and so it does belong to people who are under military occupation.
It belongs to all countries.
Including the Palestinians, right?
All countries have the right to self-defense. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Ned. I'm so glad that we finally agree on something. It's been a while. It's been a while. Wow. I'm glad someone asked that question, because all we've been hearing for the last weeks is that Ukrainians are so brave, and look at them, they're making Molotov cocktails. And Jeremy Bowen from the BBC, he even posted a graph, where to throw your Molotov cocktail, depending on what tank or Russian truck or APC you find in front of you, right? So different ways to cook Russians alive. And then they were, of course, selling weapons online. So you could go online and you could donate, you could crowdfund the weapons for the Ukrainians. The Ukrainian embassy in the Czech Republic, on Facebook, they put up a post asking people to donate money so they can buy weapons, right? So you can go online and buy guns, grenades, whatever it is, for the Ukrainians. Wonderful. Now, answer something for me in the comments. What do you think would happen if you went online and donated money for Palestinians to buy weapons so they can resist the Israeli occupation? What do you think is going to happen to you? What is going to happen to you if you do that for, I don't know, Iraqis or Syrians who are resisting the American occupation or the Israeli occupation? If you send money for them to buy guns. Zorro says terror list. Pissed off Canadian says be arrested. Pilgrim says you'd be locked up. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's not even an exaggeration. You would be on a terror list. You'd be locked up. That's it. The police would come to your home and arrest you. If you're in the UK, the US, France, it doesn't matter. They're going to come and arrest you and put you in jail. End of story. Done. And you're going to be listed as a terrorist for the rest of your life. You're going to have a criminal record as a terrorist supporter. And that's it. You're done. There's no appeal. There's no, oh, but every country has the right to resist occupations. Go to jail, bitch. Goodbye. That's what it's going to be. And so it's very, very interesting to see the people who've been labeling Palestinians as terrorists, Iraqis as terrorists, Afghans as terrorists, Syrians as terrorists, and all multitudes of people around the world who are resisting occupation and colonialism in the global south, the same people who've been calling them terrorists now turn around and say, oh, Ukraine, we not only support their right to fight the Russians, we're even going to pay for their weapons, and we're going to give them moral support and lethal support and financial support and all multitudes of support, right? So that's been very interesting. And I couldn't but help point out the hypocrisy because, again, anyone with half a brain can see that the situation in Iraq has been a mess. 20 years of occupation. Again, the U.S. can change the official title of its soldiers from, combat troops to advisors. It doesn't change the fact that you have boots on the ground. And the same thing with Syria. They're occupying the oil there. The same thing with Palestine. Palestinians have been living 70 years now, 70 plus years under occupation. And before that, they had the British. And before that, the Ottomans. Centuries of colonialism. But it's not okay. It's forbidden. It's forbidden for those people to resist because they're terrorists. Right? So I'm very glad that Ned finally agreed on something. How nice. Isn't that nice? I'm really glad. It's rare that you agree with a State Department official. Very rare. He was so angry. Do you see how he moved to the next question? He's like, next.
Does belong to people who are under military occupation.
It belongs to all
including
countries.
The Palestinians, right?
All countries have the right to self-defense.
That was beautiful. That's wonderful. I'm actually surprised someone asked him that. I wasn't expecting anyone sitting in the press room to ask that. Not bad. Not bad. So, let me show you something over here. I want to show you guys a video. This is just related to the setup that I've got going on. I want your opinion. I don't know which one to pick, so just tell me number 1 or number 2, okay? I'm going to show you a video now. It's actually 2 videos, one after the other. So tell me if you like number 1 or if you like number 2. So I'm trying to see which setup to go with. All right, Kate. Ready? Let's go. Take a look. So this is view number 1, and pardon the crappy quality. It's it's not about the quality; it's about the angle. This is number 1, and then I'm going to show you number 2 in a second. There we go. That's number 2. So 2 different angles. Which one do you guys like as my new background? Should I go with the first one or the second one? Again, I can play it one more time for you. Let me know in the comments. Actually, this is pretty cool. We can set up a poll. This is really tough. We're going to have to do a poll. Dustin says neither. I like the one you have now. Well, I mean, I like the one I have now too, but, it's nice to have a change also. One of you said that... number 1 is better lighting. I know, forget the lighting. Again, this is just like shitty, just recorded quickly. It's more about the view. Obviously, the lighting would be improved afterwards. So in any case, thank you, Ninja. You're very kind. All right, let me see what I can pull up for you over here.
Right to respond to the...
You guys were asking me about this rocket attack earlier, right, in Iraq. Let's take a look at this clip, which is from Press TV, I believe. Let's look at what they had to say about this, because this is from...
Iran says it reserves the right to respond to the Israeli terrorist attack that killed 2 military advisors in Syria. The Iranian mission to the United Nations says the attack was highly provocative and aimed at increasing tensions. In a letter to the Security Council, the mission seriously warned Israel against taking further adventuristic and malevolent measures. The mission also described the attack as a criminal act that violates international law and the United Nations Charter. It called on the international community.
So that's basically what we were talking about earlier, that this attack on Erbil right now in Iraq, just an hour ago, that could be a response to the 2 Iranians who were killed in Syria. I want to show you a tweet underneath from Tim Anderson. He makes a very good point. He says that the attack on the U.S. consulate may be linked. The Israelis have a big presence in Erbil, where they are helping to train Kurd separatists to attack and divide Iran and Syria. Yeah, that could be it. I don't think it's the only reason, but let me show you some of the footage again from the attack. That's very, very big. Maybe some of you are kind enough to tell us in the comments if you think that was a ballistic warhead or not. But I'm not sure myself. I don't know if that was a ballistic missile. Here's something from the archives. NATO launched more than 10,000 air raids on Libya in 2011 with over 500,000 civilian casualties. When they were questioned about civilian casualties, they insisted that it was collateral damage and that it happens in wars. So that's again something where, you know, people say that's whataboutism. Like you're just changing the subject and you're trying to deflect. No, I'm not changing the subject. I'm saying that the people complaining about Russia are fucking hypocrites. That's not changing the subject. That's the subject. That's the subject. And they not only do the same thing, they do more of it, and they are more violent and do it more frequently and on a bigger scale. And so, you know, I don't want to hear it. I'm sick and tired of hearing, oh, Russia this, Russia that from people who have no business talking about that. You know, Hillary Clinton posted this, for example. Let me show you. I mean, you can't make this up, right? Because here. So Hillary Clinton posted this on Twitter. She said, if Russian leadership would rather not be accused of committing war crimes, they should stop bombing hospitals. Ay. Why does she speak? Like, why? Even if you had a point, that point doesn't really mean anything when it's coming from Hillary Clinton, because it's Hillary Clinton, you know. And the same goes for actually many U.S. officials. You remember what she did when she found out that her campaign in Libya, you know, they had killed Gaddafi. This was a reaction.
So I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came. We saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
So she found out Gaddafi was dead, and that's the reaction. We came, we saw, he died. No, the thing is, it's not just Gaddafi who died. It's much more than that, isn't it? Again, this posted by Africa Archives. NATO launched more than 10,000 air raids in Libya in 2011 with over 500,000 civilian casualties. When they were questioned about civilian casualties, they insisted it was collateral damage and then it happens in wars. Oh, really? So it's okay to kill civilians when it's NATO doing it, and it's not okay when the Russians do it. How about we just say it's not okay for anyone to do it, and you actually respect that instead of, you know, being such a giant hypocrite? I get so tired of this. I'm really so exhausted of having to call out this hypocrisy because it's so brazen, it's so obvious, and they do it so often. You know, what are we supposed to do? This is something else. Because when they're saying you shouldn't bomb hospitals, do you remember what the Americans did in Afghanistan? Look at this. In Kunduz. So in October 2015, an AC-130 gunship attacked the Kunduz Trauma Center of Médecins Sans Frontières, which is Doctors Without Borders, and 42 people were killed, 30 were injured. But that, of course, it's not a war crime because NATO did it. It's an accident. It's a gaffe. I mean, look what they also did here. I posted about this, and I'm glad so many people saw it because this really makes me upset. When NATO was bombing Libya, they didn't just bomb. They of course bombed a lot of civilian targets, civilian infrastructure, and that includes the Great Man-Made River. Again, this is something that Gaddafi built. This is the Great Man-Made River. So you can see Libya's up here on the coast of the Mediterranean. And Libya is a desert country. It's like 90 to 95% desert. So how do you get water to all the people in Libya? Not just for drinking water, but also for irrigation, for farming. So Gaddafi built this network of water, like a water irrigation project. It's the biggest irrigation project in history. So although Libya is 90% desert, 95% desert, you have all of this water that reaches around 70%, 70% of Libyans. Isn't that fantastic? I mean, that's why they call it the eighth wonder of the world. It really is a wonder. And that's something that he did. And the best part is it was self-financed. So Gaddafi didn't go get a loan from the IMF. He didn't get a loan from the World Bank. He didn't go get begging for money. That's self-funded. Libya paid for that themselves. Do you understand? I mean, there are European countries who wouldn't do something like this, who couldn't do something like this, right? Europe, so-called civilized, developed Europe, that couldn't do that. So they bombed that, of course. NATO bombed this Great Man-Made River. Obviously, it's very big, but they bombed a section of it, which is obviously doesn't make it any less of a war crime. But hospitals, irrigation, dams, you name it, they've bombed it, and then they have the stones to talk about Russian leadership. Honestly, when it comes from people like her, it's just worthless. When it comes from people like Biden, it's just worthless. It doesn't mean anything. It really... It's hard to take them seriously, It's hard to take them seriously. That's my point. Thank you to Isaac. Says Kunduz hospital bombing, another Russian war crime. I don't know if you're being sarcastic, but obviously that was NATO in Kunduz. So I wouldn't be surprised though if they blame it on the Russians. Putin himself, with his kinetic, with his telekinetic powers, he managed to move the bombs and make them hit the hospital. Well done. So in any the hospital in Kunduz, right, in Afghanistan, which the US bombed. I'm being sarcastic, obviously. So in any case, guys, many of you sent me emails right now for In Context. I appreciate that very much. And I think, let me just check something. Yeah, not bad. We're at 915 subscribers, so we're almost at 1,000. Good job, guys. Thank you very much. Again, this is my new news outlet, and if you want to work part-time, full-time, you can write, you can speak, do video editing. Let me know. Send me an email. Show me what you can do. And in any case, guys, I just want to thank you very much because we've already hit 618 on Patreon. I appreciate all of your kind words, and I thank you for donating to support what I do. Again, I'll leave the links below. I don't want to plug the show a million times, but if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. And even if you're not new, let's make sure we have a backup plan given all this censorship. There's Rockfin, Odyssey, Telegram, the newsletter. I'm going to put all this below, so just at least subscribe to one. I think that's the most important thing we can do right now, to fight all of this neoliberal bullshit where they've just gone insane. They've gone absolutely insane. Here's another breaking story for you. Oh, no, it's the same one. It's the same one. There's no new developments. I thought it was from Erbil, from Iraq, but that's it. There's nothing new on that. All right, guys. In any case, I think this article from the Associated Press, they talk about the missiles targeting the U.S. consulate in North Iraq, and there's no casualties. And they say as many as 12 missiles were fired Sunday toward the U.S. consulate in Iraq's northern city of Erbil. And officials in Iraq and the U.S. gave different accounts of damage. A second U.S. official said there was no damage and no casualties at any U.S. government facilities, but Iraqi officials said several missiles had hit the U.S. consulate. The consulate building is new and currently unoccupied. So, where did these come from? One of the Iraqi officials said the ballistic missiles were fired from Iran, without elaborating. The U.S. officials could not confirm the type of missile. So, again, nothing new on that. But if it's a ballistic missile, that's certainly a development. Because usually until now, we've seen mortars, we've seen drones. Not many ballistic missiles. That's another league, so to speak. Right? Lima in the comments says no injuries, just brain injuries. Yeah, that's... Again, after Ain al-Assad base, they said that the American soldiers had brain injuries, whatever that means. I don't know if they were saying that to make it look like the attack was dangerous, and to say like, you know, they wanted to play the victims basically. Because I mean, other than that, everyone's fine. I think. I don't know if Iran did this on purpose, but they were warned in advance that there was going to be a strike in 2020 at Ain al-Assad. And that's why no one was killed, right? They all hid in these bunkers. And they tried to make it like some huge heroic story on tape and everything. So, yeah, in any case. I've seen more emails from you guys. Thank you again for your interest. I appreciate that. And I'll try to get back to you guys as soon as I can. Again, I'm really swamped with work. So... here's something I wanted to show you with Saudi Arabia. Okay. So I wanted to tell you about this story from Saudi Arabia. This article is from Reuters. They say Saudi Arabia executes 81 men in one day for terrorism and other offenses. So, Saudi Arabia executed 81 men, including 7 Yemenis and 1 Syrian on Saturday, the Interior Ministry said, in the kingdom's biggest mass execution in decades. The number dwarfed the 67 executions reported in the kingdom in 2021 and the 27 executions in 2020. Quote, these individuals were convicted of various crimes, including murdering innocent men, women, and children, SPA said on Saturday, citing a statement from the Interior Ministry. Quote, the crimes committed by these individuals also include pledging allegiance to foreign terrorist organizations such as ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Houthis, meaning the Yemenis, right? So some traveled to conflict zones to join terrorist organizations. The accused were provided with the right to an attorney and were guaranteed their full rights under Saudi law during the judicial process. The kingdom will continue to take a strict and unwavering stance against terrorism and extremist ideologies that threaten the stability of the entire world. I mean, that's a joke, right? That's such a joke. All of this Wahhabism, this terrorism that the Saudis have been funding for decades, they finance so many groups in Syria, all of them, you know, Salafi, jihadists, takfiris, you name it, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, Israel, they're all behind this. And then, of course, in Pakistan and Afghanistan, you have the, ISIS-K now, but you have Al-Qaeda. You know, let me just give you an example. On 9/11, 15 of the hijackers were Saudis, right? So the idea that Saudi Arabia is trying to combat terrorism is hilarious. This is like a, what do you call it? It's just an act. That's what it is. They said the men included 37 Saudi nationals who were found guilty in a single case for attempting to assassinate security officers and targeting police stations and convoys. right? So in 2019, the kingdom beheaded 37 Saudi citizens, most of them minority Shia. And again, they accused them of terrorism. And I just want to say something, because Saudi Arabia is obviously a very close U.S. ally and Western ally. I know right now MBS doesn't want to take Biden's calls. He's not picking up the phone. Oh no. But do you see like how hypocritical this is? Because if Iran did this, right, or I don't know, Syria did this, they would immediately call it out, and they might even slap sanctions. You know, there's a multitude of reactions. But I feel like human rights violations and the death penalty and all these things, they only count when you're an official enemy. If you do it in Israel or Saudi Arabia, it's okay. Like, whatever. It's par for the course. We're not going to really talk about it because you provide us with other benefits. The Saudis provide them with oil. They act as a regional policeman. The Israelis, they're mad dog in the region. So they look the other way. They turn a blind eye. They let them do this stuff. And, you know, Russia, they've cut all these ties with Russia now. Well, actually, not completely, but economic ties, certainly. They've sanctioned Russia. They've banned Russian oil. Do you think they're going to ban Saudi oil? Huh? You think they'll ban Saudi oil for Saudi Arabia's human rights abuses, for what it's doing in Yemen? I mean, this is already bad enough, but it pales compared to what they're doing in Yemen. Do you think they're going to take any action on that? No, because they're making money from it in the West. And do you think, for example, they would stop selling weapons to Saudi Arabia over what they're doing in Yemen? Also, no. Also, no. Even Germany, which claims to be neutral, is actually profiting from Yemen because they get their weapons sold to the Saudis indirectly. They send them into Italy, for example, and then the Italians sell it to the Saudis. So they're basically just putting a middleman in the transaction, so it looks like they're neutral. They're obviously not neutral, and they're profiting from that war, from that genocide. And they're not the only one, right? There's Canada, the UK, and so on, making billions and billions from this. It's very lucrative, and so. Again, you know, I struggle to see what they mean when they say shared values and our, you know, strong regional ally. Really? Really? What shared values? I would love to know what's so enticing about this, or how, you know, Israel treats Palestinians. What are these shared values exactly? I'd love to know. Because they don't seem very, they don't seem like something I want to share. You know, these countries, they only serve as refueling stations and a place to host U.S. bases. Remember, Saudi Arabia has many American bases, and obviously that serves multiple purposes. That was used against Iraq. They attacked Iraq from Saudi Arabia, the Americans, I mean, and of course they're near Iran. So it's always about that. It's putting the bases there, selling them weapons. They become client states, and of course they come up with all these reasons then to not care about it, you know. Mango in the comments says they're just weapons showrooms posing as nations. That's a good one. That's a very good one. Yeah. All right, guys. That's it from me. Again, before I go, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's supporting the channel. If you like my work, please consider subscribing for $1 or €1 a month. Maybe we'll get to play a crab dance before I go, which would be very cool. We do that anytime someone signs up. And of course, there's if you just want to donate once, there's like a PayPal and things like that. So I'll put that up on the screen. There's PayPal and CashApp and Venmo. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to send them. I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. And again, the most important thing, what I really want from you guys is to please go either to Telegram and sign up there, or to Odyssey, or to Rockfin. Just one of these alternatives. There's also the newsletter, right? So the Substack, which I can show you, RichardMedhurst.substack.com. You literally just put in your email and that's it. You'll be signed up, and that way we have a backup. So that's the most important thing. And again, you guys are very kind. Thank you so much. I appreciate you tuning in. How did you guys get the notification for the live stream? I'm wondering again. Some of you said you just found the channel like that, which is great. Thanks for subscribing. But those of you who are subscribed, did you get a YouTube notification or an email? I'm trying to find out what's working, so that's why I ask you guys. Yeah. Also, I was on I did an interview just 2 days ago. I'll post the link for that afterwards in Telegram. In any case, you know, it's funny. I go in Telegram and you know what it says under RT? It says this channel can't be displayed because it violated local laws. Isn't Telegram Russian? So basically, they can't even display on. You can't even see them on their own app. That's really something. That's really something, man. In any case, Valerie says, "Don't go, Richie." Well, I feel like I'm boring you guys. I ran out of stuff to talk about. I mean, we've been here 3 hours, so you know, it's not bad. Mad says, "I got a YouTube notification. That's great." Crisp says, "Juste un notif de YouTube." Très bien. Thank you. Again, I need to learn to read Cyrillic. I'm sorry. I don't know who sent this, but thank you for the super chat. I'm trying to translate quickly. Shakurov, thank you very much. I appreciate the donation. You're kind. You're very kind. Jenny says, hurry up and sync. Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that. I'm glad you guys saw it and recommended it was on the homepage. That's wonderful. Great. I'm just looking something up on Switzerland. Hold on. With Ukraine. That I didn't see that. Oh, really? Wow. So this is interesting, actually. Just one more thing. You guys know that traditionally Switzerland presents itself as a neutral country, right? It tries not to get involved in other conflicts and so on. Well, I want to show you this. Basically, this is from the Indian Express, right? Switzerland has broken its 200-year-long neutrality policy to sanction Moscow and its leaders. Wow. So let me read to you a bit from this. They say Switzerland is implementing the financial sanctions imposed by the European Union on Russian President Vladimir Putin, Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov with immediate effect, the Swiss federal government said in a statement on February 28th. Quote, we are in an extraordinary situation where extraordinary measures could be decided, Switzerland's president and foreign minister Ignazio said while announcing the decision. The tiny alpine nation, the size of Haryana, has had a neutrality policy in place since 1815. Its official website attests to this, noting that permanent neutrality is a principle of Swiss foreign policy. Though it serves as the headquarters of several diplomatic missions and as the venue for historic treaties like the Geneva Convention, Switzerland isn't part of the EU or NATO. We know that. And so honestly, though, if we look at World War II, I don't know about, whether they were actually neutral in World War II in terms of the Nazis. They certainly helped the Nazis in a few ways. So, but in any case, that's kind of interesting, right? That's kind of interesting that they've broken that now, all for the sake of the Russians. Even the Nazis didn't. Well, you know, the Nazis weren't big enough of a threat to make them take a stance. No. They say Russia's unprecedented military attack on a sovereign European country was the deciding factor in the Federal Council's decision to change its previous stance on sanctions. And they say that contradicts its stance in 2014 when Russia annexed Crimea, right? So Dr. Lauren Goetschel, who heads Swiss Peace, which is a research institute based in Bern, he told the Indian Express that Switzerland isn't really breaking a precedent because in the past, so during a war in the Balkans and the civil war in Syria, Switzerland had taken over sanctions decided by the EU, though they were not backed by a UN Security Council resolution. What do you guys think? I'm not surprised. I mean, we've seen Germany do this now. The EU's done this now. They've broken with their so-called neutrality, you know, and they've decided to send weapons. So I'm not surprised that the Swiss are doing that too. And again, you look at World War II, they weren't exactly neutral, the Swiss, you know. In any case, it's quite interesting because the narrative that's being set up here is that what Russia's doing in Ukraine is unprecedented. Yeah, but it's not really unprecedented because the countries doing the sanctioning, they do it themselves all the time. So when I read things like that, oh, you know, what Russia's done, this has been never heard of before. Oh my God. No, that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit. It's not even just that we've seen that being done before. It's actually a fart compared to the war on terror. So obviously these kinds of actions have been carried out by the states doing the sanctioning, and I just find it ridiculous that they resort to comparisons like, oh, Putin is Hitler. Actually, he's worse than Hitler, and this is the biggest thing since World War II. Like, they just erase the bombing of Yugoslavia. They erase what happened in Kosovo. They erase the war on terror. And so for me, this selective amnesia and selective outrage, it indicates ill intent on their part. That's the impression that I'm left with. And I hope that you would agree with me, or at least understand that this isn't really helping the case, because you could make some very legitimate criticisms about the Russians without having to resort to, you know, historical revisionism and so on. No? Surely. And I don't care if people don't like that, you know, people say, oh, this is whataboutism. Go and stick that up your ass. I don't care what you call it. This is hypocrisy. This is a big issue because right now they're setting a precedent that it's okay for the UK and NATO and the US to do those things, the same things, and on a much larger scale. And we're never going to care about that. But as soon as anyone else does the same thing, anyone tries to emulate the same kind of lawlessness and a disrespect for international law, then we're going to come down on them like a ton of bricks. And then we're going to lie about the context of it, and we're going to lie about history, and we're going to create this narrative that it's the worst thing since you know, the invention since Hitler's birth, whatever you want to say. I don't know. I don't buy that. I don't want the whole neoliberal crap. Just keep your narrative, honestly. Just keep it. I'm sick of that. It really makes them lose credibility. And one more thing, this goes without saying, but you know, the Swiss pride themselves as some very prestigious financial hub. You know that this is going to change when you have all these European countries, and now it's extended to Switzerland as well. They're kind of shooting themselves in the foot because they're showing future leaders or other leaders right now, they're showing other countries not to invest, not to do anything, not to do business with them because they, on a whim, they can just, you know, steal your money. And it's not just with Russia. They did that with Afghanistan. They stole $7 billion from Afghanistan. They stole Venezuela's gold. So it's a series of thefts and robberies that really make you think twice before you want to interact with these countries. And rising powers, the BRICS, like, you know, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, they're forging a new multipolar world, and the only thing that this is accomplishing, whether it's the Swiss or the Americans or NATO or the EU, and with their sanctions, it's just speeding that up. That's the only thing. Yeah, Russians are going to suffer short term, but long term, I think that it's going to, you know, they're going to be the ones who suffer the most. And when I say they, it's not even the politicians; it's really the people, the average Joes. And so they're poking holes in their own hegemony, honestly. All right, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, if you want to support the show, I'll leave the links down below. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you. And Crazy Puppet says Russian external debt is 478 billion. Russian reserves in foreign currency 498 billion frozen. Debt 19 billion. Russia was ready. Of course. I mean, Russia's that's out of 648 or 640, they've frozen quite a good chunk of it, but they have at least I think 35% that's still accessible. They've been preparing for this for quite some time, de-dollarizing and so on. You know, since Crimea, since 2014, this whole U.S. coup in Ukraine, they've noticed that betting on Uncle Sam is not really a winning strategy. So, yeah. Okay, thank you very much, guys. I'm gonna go now and leave the screens up. I really appreciate you so much. Thank you for tuning in. Again, please sign up on Telegram or the newsletter so you get a notification when I go live next time, okay? I'm gonna be going live a lot, almost every day. So, I mean, I'll try to. So don't miss it. And we'll see each other soon, okay? Take care. Bye-bye. Ma salame.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
A is for
All men and women created by you know the thing.
B is for
I'm beginning to see why your wife left you.
C is for
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
D is for
Don't worry, I'm so serious. Children, I love to hear them.
E is for
An excuse to walk by the dealer and say, no, I'm not going to be a mule. I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom.
F is for
Friend, and she's a friend. She's been my friend in and out of public life.
G is for
Go to Joe 30330.
H is for
Hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
I is for
I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate.
J is for
Just look at the record.
I have President Biden, Vice President Biden.
Well, I tell you what, if you look at my record and you still doubt about my commitment, then you should vote for somebody else.
K is for
Kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
L is for
The lion, dog, face, pony soldier.
M is for
Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone. Make sure the kids hear words.
N is for
NATO.
O is for
The only African-American woman that's ever been elected to the United States Senate.
P is for
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
R is for
Rest her soul, and although your mom's still alive.
S is for
Send a text to the word united.
T is for
Truth over facts.
U is for
Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future.
V is for
I'll vote for somebody else.
All right, thanks so much.
W is for
Wait, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay.
X is for
Xi Jinping.
Y is for
And you ain't black.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
A is for
All men and women created by you know the thing.
B is for
I'm beginning to see why your wife left you.